Goodbye. How are we on this fine Thursday morning? We're very sad we are not in person in a room, but unfortunately, the world is the world that we're in. We can let some more people join the session. We've got lots and lots of people joining, and it will get started in just a moment. So grab a coffee, get ready. We're ready to go.
What the? Why am I plastic? It's official, I'm going crazy.
What's with all this paper everywhere? Surely there's a better way. Right. I'm sending you to Accounting Refigured for some inspiration. If AI can't help you, then I'm not sure what will.
Okay, I'm in.
Welcome to Accounting Refigured.
We're glad you could all make it.
Please take your seats.
Habibis, welcome to Accounting Refigured, where AI and tech meet accounting and finance. Yalla Habibi, let's go.
I'm so inspired right now.
The world of accounting and finance is changing. AI is no longer optional. Your customers and your competitors are getting wise to it. Don't get left behind. Yalla Habibi.
What an awesome event that was. I have so many ideas. Screw you, paper. I've always wanted to do that.
Lol. You better pick that up.
This AI malarkey is so cool. How did I live without it?
Look at these numbers. That's incredible. Fantastic job. High five. Amazing work, everyone.
Finally, I can put my feet up now. I'll never have to work again.
Finally, I can fire him. Lol.
Habibis, the future is here. Are you brave enough to embrace it? Yalla Habibi, let's all get shawarma.
Babies, good morning and welcome wherever you are around the world. So if you've been trying to get hold of me for the last few days, I think you've figured out what I've been doing. I've been deep in AI Lego world, reliving my childhood. But no, that was actually really fun to do. I do kind of wish I outsourced that to an expert, but it took way longer than I would have hoped. But hey, no, I'm always liking to try these things, and it was super fun. And in case you're wondering right at the end there, it wasn't saying let's go shower now, it's let's go for a shawarma. So before anyone gets any ideas, please do keep your clothes on and do what you want for the rest of the session. So welcome everyone. It's great to have you all with us. It's a real shame, as Zubair said, to not be in person, but we really wanted to give you guys an awesome experience regardless. And we just are so happy to be able to offer you Accounting Refigured wherever you are around the world. So the great thing is, always looking at the plus side of things, is that no matter where you are in the world today, you can enjoy this. And hopefully you will enjoy the session. We've got a really, really great lineup for you. I'm just going to flick through just the order of the day for you. So we've got a few things. So you get to start with me across a number of the sessions this morning. We should be done by around midday Dubai time. So I'm going to talk you through what's actually changing in 2026. There's been lots going on. I'm not going to go into the whole regional conflict side of things, so don't worry. We've all got that had that on our minds, I'm sure. But everything else is actually related to the world of accounting, finance, and technology that is relevant to what we guys think is good for you. We're then going to be joined by Nadeem from Wafik, who is going to be talking to us about e-invoicing, what Ready actually means. Then I'll be moving on to a panel discussion with two awesome accounting people here in the UAE. So we've got Rehan Aleem and Sandeep Anand, who we're going to be talking about technology and workflow and what's actually working. Then I'll be joined by no stranger to the Accounting Refigured stage, Joe David from Nephos Group. So Joe and I are going to be talking to you about Claude, your new accounting hire. I will say no more at this stage. We're then going to have a fireside chat with Aham, co-founder of PIMO, about how to control spend without adding complexity. We're then going to have a message from a State of the Nation message from Hanadi, who is the head of the ICAW, here in the Middle East. We're going to give you guys a short break because there's only so much you can do, and you can get your clothes back on at that point. We're then going to be followed by a presentation about Reza Huda's resilience story, which is a personal story of his, having been an accounting firm owner multiple times. Then I'm joined by Carl from Kudwa, who is going to be talking about the CFO reality check. So, why reports just aren't enough anymore. And finally, we'll wrap up with an open Q&A, any questions you've been afraid to ask all this time. And we'll be talking about Accounting Refigured 26, the real in-person one, which will be in September. Okay. So, and if you are feeding social, as always, please don't be quiet about it. And we've got our LinkedIn page at Accounting Refigured. Find us out. And then please, if you are going to post, so take some screenshots, share with your audience, use hashtag AR on air. It'll be great just to make everyone else feel jealous about what they've missed out on this time. Because it's the first time it's been free, so no excuses really. And a massive thank you to our sponsors. Without them, we can't really run these sessions, and we're so happy to have a real bunch of awesome startup sponsors, some gold ones, and some diamond, and our education partners this time out of the ICAW. And Scope, as always, which is obviously the company that I represent. It's such a an honor to be able to have created this event alongside Zubair and with Scope Support to get the messages to you, to get accounting and finance closer to technology, which is what it's all about. And your voice matters, as always. After this event, we want to know what worked well, what didn't, whether you like jokes about keeping your clothes on or off, all this kind of stuff. It all matters. We just want to know what kind of works for you and what doesn't. Okay, so you haven't got rid of me quite just yet. So I'm going to go straight into my session now and talk about what's actually changing in 2026, because let's face it, there's been a lot going on. It's been a kind of really tumultuous year. So for those that don't know me, my name is Ayman Kahouri. I'm the self-proclaimed Chief Tech Habibi. I started Scope Dubai 2.5 years ago now, coming up to 3 years. And before that, my life was in accounting tech primarily. Technology has been kind of an ever-present in my life when I was young, but the last 5 or 6 years, probably longer now, so about 8 years now, I've been in this whole accounting tech space, having started that when I was at Xero over in the UK a few years back. So wherever you are kind of now, this accounting technology and finance technology is something that's been changing and it's been evolving. And we've got, and particularly in the last couple of years, in the last year alone, the pace of evolution has been super, super quick. There's also other things that come into it, such as regulatory changes. And all of that really plays an important part in terms of setting the landscape in which you guys operate. So, first and foremost, let's acknowledge that you're tired, and we get it. Hopefully not quite as tired as this plant. But let's start by being honest. If you've been an accountant or a finance leader in the UAE for the last 3 years, you've had VAT mature. We've had the arrival of corporate tax. We've had ESR, transfer pricing, economic substance, UBO declarations, country by country reporting, and on and on and on. Your inbox is exhausted. Your team's exhausted. And every single quarter, someone on a virtual stage or an in-person stage like this is telling you something else is about to change everything. We've also had everything else going on this year that we're not going to talk about. So when we say to you that 2026 is different, you've got every right to roll your eyes. But quite frankly, it is. And some of what's going on this year is real. Some of it's genuinely structural. And the firms that read this correctly are going to be the ones that can really take advantage of what's going on. And the next 12 months are going to be very different between those that do have an edge and those that don't. So let's cut the noise. No buzzwords. No AI is going to change everything. I know we kind of imply that a lot of the time. In many ways, AI will change a lot. It already is changing. The future of accounting is here, but also it's, every year there's always change. So there's going to be 5 things that are actually changing this year in our region. And we want to not just kind of use the buzzwords, but actually talk about what that really means and what, to your firm, to your finance team and to your careers ultimately, because this is going to be a massive year for us all in many ways. As we know, e-invoicing is starting to be rolled out. The pilot starts in the UAE here in July, where firms can voluntarily sign up, or you've got the firms that have over 50 million turnover that need to assign their ASP. Now, an ASP is an accredited service provider. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of what e-invoicing is, but essentially what you may not know, and I'm sure many of you do, but what you may not know is e-invoicing isn't just sending a digital version of an invoice. If you're not doing that yet, then you're already probably behind. You're still sending just the paper ones. E-invoicing is not about that. It's about a structured format that happens behind the scenes from one system to another. And it hits a number of destinations along the way, including the FTA. So there's going to be what they call this PEPL network, and you're going to hear words such as the PINT AE formats and structured XML. And this 5-corner standard, I'm not going to go into the intricacies of that. It's been kind of said on multiple forums several times. The key thing for you to know is if your client is still mailing scanned PDFs from a Gmail account at the end of the month, that workflow is going to be dying out in the coming months. There'll be further phases from January and rolling into July next year as well. So there's going to be a lot going on. I mean, what we do know is that getting ready earlier saves you a lot of pain down the line. So don't think about it too much. And I'm not going to steal any of Nadim's thunder, because Nadim from Wafik is going to be up next after me. And he's going to walk you through exactly what ready means in practice. So if you want to take notes on one session today around e-invoicing, Nadim's is the one. And AI this year is starting to get hired. So the really interesting thing is, for ages, we've been wondering, what kind of tools do we need to bring in to help improve efficiency in my practice? Do I just need to keep throwing people at problems? And for years, we've been encouraging taking on different software that can help automate procedures. And all of that is still true. There's still lots of automation that can be done. There's still lots of software that's incredibly useful. And manual processes don't really have as much of a place anymore in our day-to-day lives, or that they ought to not. And we ought to always be seeking to remove lots of these. The real value we give is not in doing manual data entry, but a manual manipulation of spreadsheets, etc. It's actually the relationships that we build, the conversations that we have. Those are the things where we bring value. And AI is now becoming part of the team. So many of you have been looking at tools like Claude probably in recent months. Certainly I have, and in a few sessions from now, both Joe and I will be showing you a bit of Claude and what that can really mean to your finance function, to your accounting teams and your accounting workflows. There's so much out there that we can do. And AI, if it's not already, is going to become a valuable team member for you. And compliance for quite a while has been the main thing. It's been like the go-to. Your go-to value has been a lot of the times in just compliance. And let's face it, that's not going away. But the thing is as well, not really a competitive edge. Everyone is doing compliance. That's kind of the flaw. Everyone expects it. It's almost like the bare minimum. You can talk about quality. Of course, quality can always be improved, but that as a tick box is really a bare minimum. And the ceiling of where we can provide value is, as I said, in those relationships and in the advisory side of things. So naturally, compliance is always going to be there, and doing an awesome job at it is ultimately where there is going to become table stakes, because the technology is going to get so good that the quality is going to be there across the board for everyone. So ultimately, how are you going to differentiate? And the advisory is an area where, yes, the technology is starting to be able to help, but it's nowhere near as good as the years of experience that you've built up, and the nuance and your understanding of this client and the relationship that you have with them. All of that is ultimately what's going to be incredibly helpful to your clients. And that's where you can really differentiate and provide additional value. And let's face it, talent these days has a lot more options. We're all kind of got used to working remotely. We've got global workforce, and Gen Z and the senior end of millennials and regions, they've got real options now. They can work remotely from London, Sydney, Toronto, Dubai, anywhere around the world. And they're not going to sit there and rekey bank statements for you at the end of the day. It's just not the kind of work that they enjoy. They'd much rather be on TikTok, right? And so they will leave quietly on a Tuesday with 2 weeks' notice and a better offer. And so it's really important that to be able to attract the best talent, we need to be seen as cutting edge ourselves. And technology is often a a factor that they consider as a given. So if you're not seen to be embracing technology, a lot of the time that can make you look somewhat archaic as a And the UAE is no longer just a convenient location. The whole region has grown up. And, funds are real, capital's real, the ambition's real. There's family offices that are professionalizing. SMEs are scaling globally. They're not just working here locally. They're serving the whole world. Founders are raising rounds that 10 years ago would have been unthinkable from this region, which means firms don't really have a choice. You can either keep doing local bookkeeping for your existing clients, or you can build the kind of practice that competes globally, because your clients are now competing globally, whether you are or not. And that's the real shift. Our clients here have grown up, and now it's time for us to as well. So ultimately, bringing it all together, we've got these 5 things. We've got e-invoicing, we've got AI, compliance leading, talent, the regional ambition. These aren't kind of 5 separate trends. They're all one big shift. The accounting and finance profession in the region is industrializing, at speed. And the firms that will be standing out in 2027 aren't the ones necessarily with the most experience. Ultimately, they will be the ones with the most adaptability. And that's why we're here today. So, you've blocked out a few hours this morning on a Thursday to listen to someone make bad jokes like me, to listen to people, but also to people that have spent the last 12 months thinking about exactly this. We've got speakers from firms like Wafik, from PIMO, from Kudwa, from the ICAW, and the global Refigured community. Most of your competitors didn't show up. So that's already an edge. So make sure you use it today. Please take notes. Ask the questions at the open Q&A later that you've been afraid to ask out loud anywhere else. Because the next 12 months are going to separate the firms that were paying attention from the firms that weren't. Be pleased to hear that that's it from me for now. Thank you for listening. Hopefully that kind of sets the scene for you. I'm going to leave a couple of QRs up on screen. Now, many of you would already follow me on LinkedIn, and thank you for your patience with me and my bad jokes and my overuse of the word Habibi a lot. But I also have an ask for you. So if you don't already follow me, please do. I try and occasionally say some things that are useful, and try and keep it lighthearted as well. But also, if you don't already follow me on Instagram, it's something that I'm trying to get going as well. So there'll be a different type of content on there. And don't worry, I won't be doing get ready with me videos. So I wouldn't put you through that, but please do follow me. Hopefully there'll be some more content for you that will resonate with some of you. So if you are an avid Instagram person, scan my QR code there and help me to get over 100, because I don't even have 100 followers yet. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Eamon. Thanks, guys. We're super excited about today. And like I said, today's news has been an interactive session. This is not just about sitting in the background and getting on with other work or whatever you're doing. So please use the chat. Please use all that. Talk amongst yourselves. We're happy for that to happen today. Just don't do that in real life. Want to get a bit of a pulse check on how people are feeling about today. So I'm going to pop a poll up. Kind of what's the thing that you want to get out today? What's the big thing that you want to leave with in the next couple of hours? So a poll should be popping up on your screen. Nice. If you could spend 30 seconds answering it. Nice. AI is always a big conversation for everyone. I feel like there's a lot of noise around AI. It feels very much like when cloud accounting first came into the world. I remember I was at Xero in the very, very early days of cloud accounting, and the world was losing its mind over it. No one understood it. And old accountants were hiding documents under their desks because they were scared of the internet. I genuinely once got asked, what happens if it rains? What happens to my data? Blew my mind. Okay, cool. Real understanding where our AI fits. Nice. E-invoicing, big question. Don't worry, we will answer that e-invoicing question very, very shortly. Nice. Feel free to pop some comments in the chat. Anything else you want to know? Anything you want to do during today? Keep adding questions in there. We'll mark them if it's relevant for the session we're talking about. Then we'll ask them to the presenter or whoever's there at the end of that session. If it's not relevant for that moment, we'll hold it. We'll take it to the end of the day, and we'll answer them as we go along. Okay, nice. Well, Eamon, thank you so much for your contribution there. We are now going to pop onto stage Nadeem from Wafik. So, Nadeem, if I can invite you onto stage, give me 1 second. There he is. Brought himself on stage. Amazing. Hey, Nadeem.
Everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
Zubair, how's it going?
Good, thanks. The stage is yours.
You guys again.
The hundreds of people online across the world are all yours. So I will leave them to you, and I'll see you at the end of your session.
Amazing. Thanks. Hey, everyone. Good to be back at Accounting Refigured. And again, amazing for Ayman and Zubair to be building such a great community. I see a lot of familiar faces among the attendees, a lot of Wafik partners, actually, which is great to see. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to talk about e-invoicing. That's a big topic, obviously, right now. And there we go. Okay. Yeah, so everybody's been hearing a lot about e-invoicing. Probably some of you already know a little bit about it. Some of you are already experts about it. Some of you know nothing about it. So I want to spend maybe the next 15 to 20 minutes giving you the important things, but also I want to leave a little bit of time for all of you guys that are already like deep into it and have more detailed questions. Be happy to try to answer them. First of all, quick poll here. Can I launch a poll here? I think I prepared a poll here. This one, okay. So how many have you selected an invoicing ASP yet? I just launched the poll. Just take 15 seconds to get some answers and get an idea about how advanced the audience is in their e-invoicing journey. Okay, so some of you still don't know what an ASP is. That's totally fine. Very small percentage have appointed an ASP. Okay, that's also fine. You do have still some time for those that haven't appointed an ASP yet. Okay, cool, great. Okay, so 82%, actually only 8% to summarize, only 8% of you have appointed an ASP, which means 92% of you still haven't appointed an ASP, and you have 11% still don't know what an ASP is. I'll tell you all about it. No worries. All right. So when you've heard about e-invoicing, the first thing you thought was, oh, like I'll figure it out. But the reality at the moment is, and like the poll showed, most businesses are not ready. It doesn't mean you should panic. We are here to make sure that everything happens smoothly and give you proper guidance. What our experience of launching an invoicing in Saudi Arabia back in 2021, so Saudi was the first GCC country to implement the invoicing. They were very ambitious about it. They rolled it out in phases, which was a really great idea because it allowed businesses some time to kind of gradually onboard the invoicing. Eventually, businesses got more and more aware and got more and more ready. However, we still do see a lot of businesses in Saudi that are still not ready for invoicing. And it's really largely a matter of education than just a solution or a technical question. But that's fine. Right now, what we're going to talk about is how are we going to make you ready for e-invoicing in time. In time, what does that mean? So there are several deadlines that I'll show you and that you need to be aware of, and it depends largely on the size of your business. But first, like, what is e-invoicing? So this is for the few of you who are maybe hearing about e-invoicing the first time. E-invoicing you hear as digitization of invoicing. Digitization is not just a PDF. Okay, digitizing is not just moving from paper invoices to an email with a PDF. It's way more than that, and it's more than that. Not just obviously for the benefit of the FTA because they will have more visibility on what's going on, but also for you as a business because you will see that the amount of automation that it will allow you is going to be amazing, both from automating your accounting, accounts receivable, but also your accounts payable. And I'll talk a little bit about this. So this is actually really good news for everyone. It's going to make things much easier, much cleaner. Obviously, the main purpose of implementing this from a Ministry of Finance perspective and FTA perspective is there's still some level of VAT, VAT evasion. So they wanna make sure that all VAT is properly accounted for and being charged by suppliers and paid to the government. So there's this aspect that if you're already following the law, which I hope you are, that doesn't change anything for you. In fact, it makes things a lot easier for you because, as I said, you'll be able to automate a lot of the work through software. Now, to be a bit more specific, I think the UAE is already advanced with regards to not using paper much, although there's still big segment that still use paper, but relatively as a market, a lot of businesses already use software, accounting software. They create PDFs, but that's not it. Moving to e-invoicing means the invoice needs to be in a structured format. A structured format, this means something that is readable by a machine. So if you drop a PDF that is structured into a software that supports reading it, it will extract all the information automatically instead of your accountant, for example, having to manually enter, or instead of going through an OCR solution to extract the data. So an XML file, essentially, you can think of it similar to maybe an HTML file. If you're familiar with what an HTML file is, it's essentially a structured document that describes the amount on an invoice, the date, the supplier, and so on. And that file gets transmitted through the PEPL network, which the UAE has decided to use as an e-invoicing infrastructure. And one thing that is different from the Saudi implementation is that PEPL is actually a European standard. It's a European network. The UAE has decided to implement PEPL and not implement their own kind of custom solution, which is what Saudi has decided to do. Now, the good news with PEPL is that it's a standardized European solution. It's likely going to be used in other GCC markets that are going to implement the invoicing, maybe Bahrain, maybe Oman soon. And it's compatible. It's going to be compatible with Europe, which means maybe trade with Europe, or let's say invoicing between Europe and even there are some Asian countries that implement PEPL. It's going to be a little bit simpler, but really the focus is on simplifying invoicing for domestic transactions. So the PEPL network is a network that you send, so your provider, you will send the invoice data to the PEPL through the PEPL network, and it will eventually reach both your customer and the tax authority. So in terms of how things change for you, there is a change, the fundamental change of invoicing introduced by the e-invoicing framework is that really once you send an invoice, that's it. This invoice is written permanently in a ledger and cannot be modified anymore. So that changes a lot of how you do your invoicing. So things like, once you send an invoice to a customer through the network, you cannot modify it anymore. So you need, which is great because it improves accounting practices, right? So you have a trace of every change on an invoice. You make a mistake on an invoice, you have to void the invoice, issue another invoice. This is totally fine. I know a lot of users still go in and edit an invoice. This is not recommended for accounting purposes. Once everything starts going through the PEPL network, things will have a lot more traceability. So the way you work will change a little bit. essentially around modifying invoices, canceling an invoice or adjusting an invoice and so on. So the PEPL network, and specifically the way that the UAE has decided to implement it, is called, you'll hear about it, it's called the 5-corner model. Why 5 corners? Because there are essentially 5 participants. And who are these 5 participants? First of all, you have your business. So your business will appoint an ASP, an accredited service provider. So an accredited service provider is typically a software that connects your business with the PEPL network. And what it does is basically it helps you put your invoices in the format that PEPL network accepts. And then once the invoice is sent through the PEPL network, it gets directed to the buyer's ASP. The buyer has also appointed typically an ASP. It's not required, but the advantage of the buyer appointing an ASP is they will be able to receive the invoice into their ERP or into their accounting software. Now, this is not part of the mandate of you as a buyer requiring you to be receiving invoices from your supplier. What is required as part of the mandate is you as a business, when you're invoicing, you need to appoint an ASP and then send your invoice through the PEPL network. So these are the 4 corners. Now the 5th corner is the tax authority. Now the tax authority does not connect directly to your business, and it does not connect directly to your ASP. It gets the data through the PEPL network at a 5th party. Okay. So when we talk about ASP appointment, we're talking mainly about this part here. So your business needs to work with an ASP to facilitate the invoice transmission through the PEPL network. The receiving part is actually really a cherry on the top if you want to think about the advantages of e-invoicing. Right now, when you receive an invoice from a supplier, you have to book it yourself, you have to extract the data, maybe you have an OCR solution, and so on. Once you start, if you appoint an ASP that also has the capability of receiving invoices from your supplier, then these invoices, or on this side, there would be purchase invoices. These purchase invoices, they would automatically show up in your ERP, in draft status, for example, and then you can, and all the data will be, of course, extracted automatically because the data comes in a structured format. And then all you need to do is simply just approve or reject the invoice, and it gets booked. So the automation that this is going to bring is going to be fantastic, and especially for businesses that have a large number of purchase invoices. Now, of course, the key is to appoint an ASP that will have the capability of receiving invoices and pushing them to your ERP or accounting software. Let's talk about deadlines. The closest deadline is, it's not really a deadline, it's more of a date to remember, 1st of July. So there is what's called a voluntary pilot. So voluntary pilot, basically this means that if you want, you can start using the PEPL network or the e-invoicing network. And this is a fantastic idea. We highly recommend that because it just gets you ready. You start getting a feel of what is going to change before really the mandatory go live deadline for your business. So this will be the 1st of July. Now, the rollout of invoicing that the FTA has planned is in essentially 2 segments or 2 groups of businesses: businesses above 50 million dirham in revenue and businesses below. They're starting with businesses above 50 million dirham. And by the way, like the way Saudi did it, they actually rolled it out in 24 separate waves. UAE is doing it only in 2 waves. So Saudi started with 3 billion and above, then 1 billion and above, and so on. The UAE is doing it much faster. So businesses with above 50 million in revenue have to appoint an ASP by the 31st of July and have to go live by the 1st of January. Now you might say, okay, this is 1st of January, so it's quite a lot of time. It depends. It depends on how your current workflows are. If you're a simple business, which is unlikely if you have 50 million plus revenue, and you're using an ERP that is not natively implementing e-invoicing, then you will need to go through an implementation project. So you should probably plan for 3 to 6 months in terms of implementation if your ERP will not support natively invoicing. If you have a simple business, so let's say less than 50 million in revenue, you still have quite a good amount of time. So there's no urgency. It's just good to be aware. Maybe you're choosing an accounting software now. You want to make sure that in 1 year it will support e-invoicing. It's good to make that decision today with that in mind. Okay, so what do you need to know? Let's say the checklist. If I want to give you a checklist, of course, which segment you fall. Is your revenue below 50 million or above 50 million? So you know which deadlines apply to you. Then you have until the 31st of July to appoint an ASP. The process of appointing an ASP is relatively simple. It's quite fast. If I want to just summarize it, you log into your Emara Tax portal. There's an e-invoicing section. You see a list of ASP providers. You click on one. You get redirected to this ASP, and then you log into your provider. So let's say the ASP is Wafik. So you'll click on Wafik inside Emara Tax. You log into Wafik, and then you just complete the connection flow, and that's it. That's it. Once you complete that flow, the FTA or Emara Tax will know that your ASP is now Wafik, and you're good to go. There's nothing else that you need to do. And you have until the 1st of January, if you fall under the, let's say, large business category, to start really invoicing through the PEPL network. There is no formal agreements or anything like that between an ASP and the business. The connection itself is the appointment process. So establishing that connection between your Emara Tax account and the ASP provider is the connection process, and the FTA will know that you have appointed an ASP. Then there is a good amount of cleanup that needs to be done. This depends on how much data you have, and here what really is important is your customer data. So things like the VAT number, but also complete address details, proper matching legal entity names, and so on. So you will need to clean up your data, or let's say complete your data, in order to be able to send invoices, because a lot of the e-invoicing frameworks require more data than perhaps what you're using at the moment. So for example, let's say you're issuing an invoice. At the moment, maybe you're not putting the full address. Maybe you're not getting a postal code, for example. With e-invoicing, more fields become required. So you will need to start cleaning up your master data, and you will spend some time. Of course, the more customers you have, the bigger of a task this will become. So keep that in mind when you're planning for your timeline. Of course, there is the actual invoicing system, or let's say the software or the user interface that you will use to issue the invoice. Now, it's important to note, to make a distinction, that an ASP and the invoicing system might be different. So you might appoint an ASP that is only providing you with a technical solution, but that you will need to integrate with your invoicing software or ERP, because your ERP does not have a native solution. So for example, if you use a custom-made ERP that you built in-house, or that's maybe from another country that does not plan to be an ASP, then you need to appoint an ASP locally, so a local ASP in the UAE, and you need to build this connection between the ASP and the invoicing system. And typically, this is a software development project. And with software development, things can take. You need to plan for at least 3 to 6 months of planning, speccing, and development. I'll mention briefly what is PINT AE. This is the PINT AE. This is the international invoice XML format adapted for the UAE. There is an international invoice standard. It's called it's a UBL for, let's say it's an XML format, without going through too much technical detail. It's an XML format that is typically common to all the countries that use this format, but then each country has some additional fields that they add to this XML. So for example, you can expect place of supply to be an additional field in the PINT AE XML format. Now, you don't need to worry about any of that. Your ASP provider should make these extra fields available. Your ASP provider should tell you which fields are required. Your ASP provider should do validation before transmitting to the PEPL network and so on. But from your perspective, what's important is that you need to expect that some field will become required that may not be required right now in your invoicing system. Then this is, typically the biggest change, depending on how many employees you have in your finance team. But as I mentioned before, really the biggest change is the fact that when you issue an invoice, it's a final act. That's it. Like, it's written on a ledger. The FTA has it. You cannot make changes anymore. And of course, your accounting software should prevent you from making changes. And then the only way, if you made a mistake, with, let's say, the customer name or the price or description or anything in the invoice, you will need to cancel the invoice. So the cancellation, which issues the credit note, will get sent to the PEPL network, and then you create a new invoice to correct your mistakes. And then finally, we talked about the voluntary pilot, which starts on the 1st of July. As soon as you appoint an ASP, so again, it depends on which ASP you appoint, but typically, for example, at WAFIC, when you appoint an ASP, we will automatically start sending e-invoices by default. You can turn it off, but when you appoint an ASP, you just start issuing invoices through the PEPL network. And this way you get familiar with all the additional constraints that might come in, which is what I mentioned, like not being able to really change an invoice and so on. And then it forces you to go through your cleanup of your master data. So the data cleanup, in our experience again in Saudi, so in Saudi, when they moved from regular non-e-invoicing to invoicing, the required data mainly was around customer data. So you needed the full name, of course, of the customer, obviously the VAT number, and then the full address detail. So we're talking about street name, building number, postal code, district, things that you might not really typically put on an invoice. So all of these become required. So this is a part of cleanup work that will be required, and this is really maybe the biggest. Maybe, of course, after a possible implement, if you go through an ASP that is not also an accounting software, so the first most, let's say, time-consuming and expensive thing you will do is the implementation project of connecting your ASP to your accounting software. If the ASP is also already your accounting software, of course, there's no implementation. Then the next most time-consuming thing is data cleanup. And a lot of businesses really underestimate the amount of data cleanup that is required, especially if you have, let's say, 100, 200, 500 customers that you invoice to regularly. So these are some of the things that are required. I mentioned most of these fields. Now the participant, there's something called the PEPL participant ID. any business that registers, when you appoint an ASP, you get a participant ID automatically. And then when you are invoicing, you get to be able to look up your customer if they are registered in the Peppol network. You don't need typically to worry about this. It's given to you by your ASP. But if you want your customer to receive the invoice, you should specify the participant ID, and then your customer will receive the invoice through their ASP directly in their ERP. So how do you pick an ASP? So the FDA is in the process now of they have a process to accredit ASPs for the UAE invoicing system. You can go on their website, or you can log into your Emirates Tax portal. You will see a list of ASPs. So these are the ones that are accredited by the FDA. So that's like number one thing you should do. Second, you should, the fact of it being an accredited, it means that it passed also Peppol standards. But you can also verify on the Peppol members directory. For long-term support, it's very important that you pick a vendor that has demonstrated commitment to the region, okay, to the UAE. So you don't want to pick a vendor that is, maybe new, or unless you have very, very simple needs, and let's say you are okay if this vendor, let's say, decides to exit the market. But why go through this risk? There are several vendors that are based in the UAE. So you have a number of options to go for. So better to pick something that is committed to the region, is going to be there long term, and so on. Now, even though e-invoicing, and I forgot to mention this, even though e-invoicing actually only applies to B2B invoices, some businesses still have a large volume of B2B invoices. Typically, B2B invoicing is much lower than B2C invoicing. A retailer might issue, I don't know, 1,000 invoices a day, right? A B2B business might issue 1,000 invoices a year. So so load is not a big thing. It's not a big problem because it only applies to B2B in this phase of the e-invoicing rollout. But for example, in Saudi, they rolled out B2B and B2C at the same time. And B2C load is a topic. Like if you're a business, you have, let's say, 1 million invoices a month, you're a pretty big business. If you have 1 million invoices a month, you want to make sure that your provider can handle this load. For most vast majority of businesses, B2B is a non-issue. So you can mostly ignore this unless, again, you are some type of high volume B2B invoicing business. Then you want to make sure that the solution properly handles, of course, validation and all of that. The fact that the ASP provider is part of the Peppol network, it means that it will automatically validate everything. But most importantly, how is the correction flow? Like if you make a mistake, how do you correct it? Is it easy to correct? And then finally, this is it's obviously much better from every perspective to have an ASP that is also natively integrated with your accounting system. So this is how WAFIC works. But if you cannot have this, you still can appoint an ASP and then integrate it with your ERP or accounting system. But again, this is a software development project that might take, that might be, that's definitely going to be more work than natively connecting your Emirates Tax portal with a natively integrated ASP. So the ASP relationship is actually it's really important. You can switch ASPs, but it's not necessarily something that you want to be, thinking about. again, like pick an ASP that have good support, good reputation, long-term commitment to this region, experience in that field. So here, really, the word is future-proof. You want something that will continue to improve and will be a reliable partner. So going back to the poll, so maybe here we're exaggerating a little bit. We don't want to freak you guys out. High risk, I think you still, no ISP selected. You definitely need to appoint an ASP if you are more than 50 million. But the good news is that the process is relatively simple. So, it's a connection flow. There's no implementation. There's no work required. Again, you just go and log in and just connect an ASP and you're done. What you do need to plan ahead is, again, if you are going for native ASP in the accounting or ERP system, or are you going to have to, start a project to integrate an ASP with your ERP or invoicing system. So again, going back to our recommendation, 1st of July, just start. If you have a system that is native, that has a native ASP, just go and connect it and just start invoicing. I think it's a very good idea. You can disconnect anyway. If I don't know, let's say you're struggling with the workflow, your team's not ready, you can disconnect. But we highly recommend that you go through the connection process and start really using invoicing. Starting from 1st of July, you can join the program anytime. Not just anytime after the 1st of July. Yeah. So what do you need to join? So as I mentioned, the ASP, PEPL participant ID, this will be handled by the ASP. And then one invoice type tested end-to-end, this will also automatically be handled by the ASP at the time of connection. When you do a connection, the ASP will make an attempt to send a test invoice to validate the connection. Here I'm addressing specifically accounting firms. So accounting firms, if you have clients that are part of this deadline, the big business deadline, or let's say the 50 million plus category, you need to decide on which ASP you're going for. Again, my recommendation is if you are using a native software. If you are using a natively integrated ASP, it's going to be easy. If not, it might take time, so you might be missing the deadline to appoint an ASP. Here we wanted to show you how much UAE has grown in terms of VAT registered businesses. So VAT was introduced in 2018. There was roughly 300,000 businesses back then. There's about 640,000 businesses now. So UAE is really growing a lot in terms of small business creation. And it will continue to grow in terms of an environment that encourages small business. Of course, hoping the geopolitical situation stabilizes. But yeah, this is great news for accounting firms, right? I mean, VAT was great news for accounting firms. Corporate tax was great news for accounting firms. E-invoicing is now great news for accounting firms. So it means your services are more and more needed. I'm going to skip this slide. I think I mentioned a lot of the things already. So what do you want to do right now? If you're an accounting firm, identify these businesses that are above 50 million, and then identify which softwares they're using, Maybe you have a business that is, like I say, on Shopify, for example, and Shopify issues some invoices that are not necessarily VAT compliant. Maybe they are VAT compliant, but you need to push these invoices to the PEPL network at some point. So you will need to start identifying these businesses and make sure that you identify a solution for them. And then define a timeline for them and reassure them that you have everything ready and in place once deadlines kick in. So some high-level kind of project planning, if you will, to go live. So so appoint an ASP, a few weeks before you want to go live. Register the PEPL participant. This will be given also by the ASP. Then plan for 4 to 6 weeks to audit and clean master data. So this, again, depends on your invoicing software, not your ESP. How are you currently invoicing? So, for example, if you have a Shopify store, the Shopify invoice needs to be adapted to the pinned AE XML format, right? So, additional fields might need to be added. So you need to upgrade your system or your invoicing system to match the pinned AE format. If you are using an accounting software, again, that is already natively in ASP, you don't need to do this step. The software will automatically put the invoice in the correct format, and it will show you all the required fields automatically. Then there's a step of training that whose length depends on how big your finance team is and how complex your finance workflows are. And then you join, again, recommended to join the voluntary pilot. And then, during the pilot, you will encounter some cases. It'll give you some time to resolve before you can be confident to go live under the mandatory requirement on the 1st of January of 2027. Okay, so you have 7 weeks until the pilot. Plus 4 more weeks to appoint an ASP, which is ample time. But again, keep in mind the preparation work that is required. That's it. Zubair, shall we go? Are there any questions, or what's the...
Thank you so much. That was very detailed. I learned a lot. I thought I knew some stuff about invoicing, but I keep learning every day as new things pop up. And there are so many questions in the chat, and I don't want to do them disservice, but I'll answer them really quickly. So if you, or I think some of the Wafik team are in and around, feel free to jump into the chat and answer those questions with the guys as we go through. I have one poll, and I have one kind of question for the audience, I guess. What's the biggest thing holding you guys back? Like, invoicing is coming, it's happening. It's not like a joke, or maybe it'll happen one day. There's a date is written there. So I guess for the audience here today, like, what's holding you back? I've just launched a poll, so I'd be really interested to hear what's holding you guys back. And it feels like people are now starting to understand more about it, so thank you for that. I'm just going to chuck something up. So if you want to talk to the guys at Wafik, which I suggest you definitely should, then please get in touch with them. I'm just going to chuck a link up for you guys to speak to the Wafik team. You can book a call with one of their team. Kunal, I think you'll book a call with, who is a super nice guy. I know Kunal from the UK. I've known him for many, many years. He's been in and around the accounting industry, so he knows accountants and loves you guys very much. So talk to him, and he'll help you figure out your e-invoicing and your kind of compliance and that. Nadim, thank you so much. And yeah, presentations will be distributed. We'll distribute all the recordings, everything for this as we go along. But Nadim, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to everyone. And we stay online. I know some of the Wafik guys are online as well. And then we're going to move on to the next session. So speak to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. See you.
Okay, I think I'm back. So thanks, Nadeem. Always good to see you, and yeah, really, really super insightful as always. So I'm going to invite a couple of more people on to now do our first panel discussion of the day. So we're going to be talking to Rehan Aleem, who's the founder of Alpha Pro and Taxstar, and Sandeep Anand, who heads up the accounting team over at A&A Consultancy here in the UAE. So hopefully you guys are on and can come up on stage to join me. There you go. Sandeep, I think, joining. Morning, Sandeep.
Joining his
Good morning.
technical issues this morning, just as we have.
Yeah, there we go. We've got Sandeep. Is
Yeah.
Rehan around?
He's coming. He's just resetting something and coming in just a second. But
No worries.
Sandeep, great to see you.
Yeah, yeah, good to see you as always, Sandeep. I'm trying to figure out if that's the actual view behind you or if that's an AI background.
No, this is not AI. This is the actual view. I can see the whole of Dubai from here.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, a little bit jealous. But no, good to see you again. I mean, I'm sure many of the people on the call already know a bit about you, but it'd be great to get a bit of an introduction from you. Tell us kind of your background and what brought you to A&A in the end.
Yeah.
What you're doing there.
Right. Yeah. So I'll start by cutting a long story short. So I've been in Dubai since 2010, and I worked with a large audit firm. I worked there for several years. Kind of learned the client relation aspect of, and I kind of understood what accounting firms provide for businesses and what businesses expect out of accounting firms to provide for them. So it was a tremendous learning journey, and over there I moved on to a couple of other companies, and finally brought all the experience and whatever I learned to A&A. So right now we run a practice of about 50 accountants, 50 plus accountants, and we provide services from accounting, tax advisory services, and all related audit support services, etc.
Awesome. And yeah, so you and I have kind of known each other probably coming up to a couple of years now. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me is you really love technology as well. As someone that's in accounting, I was somewhat taken back by your love for AI. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by technology. In fact, I've got 3 mics and 2 cameras here and 3 screens here. So from being able to understand what technology actually helps any process become far more efficient than what it would be otherwise. So these days are very interesting days. AI has come into the picture. AI has every day. Even yesterday I was just listening to a live stream of Claude for financial services. It's the progress is tremendous. Things are about to change a lot, and it is very important that accounting firms like ourselves has to keep updated with all these developments, because when there is a radical shift, people who are on the cutting edge of it set to benefit the most from any change. So the other thing that I did notice is that a lot of accountants are technology averse. They are typically not very welcoming of technology, because technology oftentimes, at the bleeding edge of technology, it is not tested 100%. There could be a certain glitch or a flaw that could potentially put their whole practice in danger. So they hesitate. They wait for it to be tested and have it completely verified, ready for the process before they begin with implementing it. What happens in such cases is that they are a step back compared to the other peers who are taking advantage of any new technology. Hi, Rehan.
Hey, I sorted out my technical issues finally.
No worries. Sounds like you're somewhere fun. Um, so Rayan, so thanks for that, Sandeep. So Rayan, look, I think some people again will know you from either Alpha Pro or from Taxstar. It would be great just to get a brief introduction from yourself about what it is that you're doing, and
Yeah,
your love for
so
tech as well, because I know you've always been someone that embraces technology.
yeah, so thank you for having me here. Yeah, so basically, I obviously founded Alpha Pro Partners, an accounting firm based in Dubai back in 2017, 18. And that was off the back of V18 kicking into the UAE. Um, Fast forward to 2 years ago, I set up a technology company called Taxstar, and we created a corporation tax calculator product, and now we're setting up an e-invoicing product that is very close to becoming an ASP. And one of the things that I like doing is I like solving the accounting issues around process using technology. I've always been the type of person who wanted to look into ways to automate things, look at ways where we can save time in the whole process. And so every time when we're looking at building the corporation tax solution, we're looking at what are the main pain points in that process, as well as e-invoicing as well. How can we make the process of e-invoicing as easy, and where can we find opportunities to improve e-invoice? Nadeem rightly said, if you're using a WAFIC, you want to kind of use the same system. But if you're using different types of ERP systems, then you want to use an ASP that can integrate with all those other different types of systems. Because here, many businesses are using different softwares for their accounting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think the amount of choice that's out there is going to be a little bit overwhelming. But then ultimately, when a firm decides to adopt technology, right, no matter what the platform, there's often some kind of adoption curve of some kind. So if we forget like the tools aside for a second, if a firm is trying to adopt technology and it fails, what tends to be the real reason? Is it the software? Is it the people? Or does it tend to be the process, Sandeep?
In terms of adopting technology, I think the first and foremost would be the people. People may not be ready for a change. I mean, it's essentially a change management issue there. Everybody has tried and tested processes, and when there is an implementation, so we've struggled quite a bit. I have an exceptional team. They're very supportive and cooperative, but to get the buy-in, they really needed to see the benefit, because it was pretty disruptive. It is not just a plug and play system. Every aspect of whatever they're doing. So we use a practice management system to ensure that all work is delivered on time. We can measure everything, quality is up to mark and stuff. So for that to happen, the client gathering of documents, client detail collection, all of those needs to be to an extent automated with frequent follow-ups and stuff. We also would have to standardize the processes that they employ for a particular work. So in our practice management software, we have a work item which has got tasks and subtasks. These are standard tasks in some cases, but in some specific high expertise work engagements, they are customized for that. So what it helps with is if a particular person hands over a job while they're going on a leave, all of that data is there. The exact process that is involved in carrying out the work, and also every correspondence with that particular client, with anybody within our firm, is shown there. So that makes it very easy for them. So, but all of this, configuring the software to enable such visibility was not easy, and it took a while. But the first thing to get in, you may have the greatest idea of a software, but the people need to be on board. You have to exercise a lot of convincing skills to to get them on board and believe in the system and what the system would stand for at the end of the day. That has been a challenge that we dealt with.
Yeah, I think lots of people will think that just bringing in the technology is going to be a silver bullet, but quite frankly, you can't get away from the fact that you need to get people on board, and you also can't get away from the fact that you need the processes to support it. And the key person risk is still a real thing. You can have people that are the sole owners of certain processes in a business, and that's risky, right? Rayhan, so if let's say there's lots of choices right these days, but it's like, given what we know about 2026 and 2027 with what's coming up and the pace of change, I'd say, and the kind of the regulatory landscape here in the UAE, if a UAE accounting firm came to you tomorrow and said they had 1 hour and 5,000 dirhams to spend on technology that would actually make a difference this year, what would you tell them to do?
1 hour and 5,000 dirhams.
You can extend those to whatever you think might be a more reasonable amount of time and money, I guess.
I mean, if it's 1 hour and 5,000 dirhams, then I'd say take a holiday, mate. You need more than an hour. I mean, look, we've been playing around with AI, right? And specifically AI agents. And one of the things that I did a webinar 2 days ago, speaking to a CFO who was using an AI agent to automate his AP process, because he had like thousands of accounts payable transactions happening all the time, and he didn't want key person risk. And he was talking about the journey he went through, and that journey was you had to treat AI like it's a person that you're onboarding into your company. And that basically meant that in the beginning, you give them a whole set of instructions, but the AI gets taught based on the data that it has, and it makes mistakes and it improves as a result. So if we just take AI as an example, if you're only going to give technology like 1 hour or a week, then you're not giving it enough time. You need to give enough time for it to be embedded in your organization and for it to then adapt to your organization. It doesn't have to be AI. It could be something like, Xero's bringing out that new system where it's replacing HubDoc, for example, right? And they showed me a demo of it, and it looks really, really exciting in terms of the way it would capture information and then put it into your system and then reconciling it against your bank as well. But again, even if you're using machine learning, it takes time for the machine to understand what each different type of transaction. Sandeep said, he hit the nail on the head. It takes time for people to understand it. And at the end of the day, your staff are the ones that are going to use it. And they're the ones who are either going to resist it or embrace it. If they feel as if it's going to save them time in their process, then they'll embrace it. If they think that it won't, then they won't embrace it. And then obviously you have this cloud of, is AI going to replace the accountant? And the answer is no, it's not going to replace the accountant. But it means that you need to ensure that your accountant understands that AI is going to make them more important in the organization. So, for example, in our company, we use AI with the engineers, but we're not doing AI coding. We're using AI to do documentation. We're using AI to do, code reviews. We're using AI to ensure that there's testing that's going on as well in the background. So it's something that there is. These are problems that's never. It's been the same 20 years ago and 30 years ago to it is now. There's a people element to it. There's a process element, and then also an element of being patient and going through the 2 to 3 months of let's bring this new system in, let's adapt to it, and then let's thrive with it as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like the adoption is like just one element of it. It's then always keeping an eye on how it gets embedded into the system, not assuming it's a kind of a tick and it's done. We're going back, making sure has it worked out the way we've expected it to? Is the adoption where we need it to be? What more can we do? It's an evolution all the time. And look, much has been said about loads of these tools, and we've mentioned some of them already on the call. But Sandy, I guess, lots of stuff is also overhyped, right? So I'm sure you've tried a few things, or you've come across quite a few things. What do you think is the thing that is overhyped in terms of like technology, whether it's AI or otherwise, that you think isn't really delivering for firms at the moment?
So to be completely honest, I haven't gone on the hype bandwagon yet. So I kind of measure if this thing, and probably there are certain agents, accounting firms would use AI agents to do certain tasks. We're not there yet. We are taking baby steps towards that. So there has been nothing that has not quite worked for us. We use agents to we use kind of AI right now to basically look at our practice management outputs. So the one that we have, they give very detailed reports about everything from time and budget to task level, including even email response times and stuff like that. So we use that to analyze, how things are moving, where we need to make a change, if there is a particular team is slowing down on a certain factor, if there is any remedial things that we need to do. But what I would think is, what is significantly overhyped is that AI replacing accountants and stuff. AI has not gotten to that stage, or at least that I know of. But what accountants need to do is be the one with the AI expertise, so they can compound their expertise, whatever they have. So in terms of any particular technology that has been overhyped, I think accounting firms are the last ones to adopt any major technological change, unless it's probably the big fours, I guess.
Interesting take. Okay, and look, last question for both of you, which is basically, if 1 year from now, what do you think the single biggest difference between an accounting firm here in the UAE that's thriving versus one that is struggling? Let's start with you, Sandeep. How much of a difference does that come down to technology, do you think, as well?
Yeah, so that would be massive. The difference would be huge. I think the ones that with technology, they can really scale up. And we're already seeing certain firms coming up with that kind of a long-term roadmap, where they see themselves as being, very agile, but at the same time, low cost and very large scale. That is essentially probably about a 70% technology use, and most of it is AI. And there are certain other traditional firms, some of them I've spoken to, I'm surprised not even use ChatGPT just for chatting and nothing beyond that, and they never could even comprehend how it would augment their accounting practice. So, and these are established firms, some of them are 20 years old. So I would still see a lot of firms which would be on the back foot when it comes to that. And the firms with the adoption at a high rate, I would say adopt, fail, iterate, reinvent and adopt again, and make sure that you're there.
Awesome, great advice. Rayhan, same question to you. What's going to be the difference a year from now?
My view is slightly different, right? And this is something that's always been the key thing for accountants, right? As accountants, who are we? We're the trusted advisor of our client. We know everything that's going on in their business when it comes to money, when it comes to profitability, when it comes to who's getting paid and who's not getting paid. So don't use AI to kind of intimidate your client, where you're just giving automated emails and automated, reminders and all of that. Use AI and technology to improve your processes so you can spend that additional time with your client. Because if you spend that additional time with your client, that will not only allow them to stay longer with you, but that will then enable you to get more referrals. Because as we all know as accountants, a referral is always the easiest to close. And building that sustainability is what's important. people nowadays they can now tell the difference between an AI post and a non-AI post now, right? And I think we don't want to, we don't want to make entrepreneurs look small. We want to empower them. And I think you use that time to spend more time with your client so they appreciate it, and that makes you look good as an accounting firm owner as well.
100%. Gentlemen, we can talk all day about this, but really, really good to hear from you as always. Thanks for taking the time, and yeah, I'm sure it won't be the last we see of you guys in the market here. Thank you both for your contributions.
Look forward to September. September, right?
That's going to be. We will share some more.
Look forward to seeing you guys then.
Guys, all right, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so while we've been running that session, I've been joined in person by one and only Joe David. So we're not only virtual. So I am just going to very briefly switch over to. A second. Okay. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you guys can hear me. Okay.
Can you hear me as well?
Got a bit of an echo. Is there an echo? Is it bad? What about now? Bit of a double up. Okay.
We are on mute.
You're on mute.
Speakers are off.
Let me try this other mic. What about now, guys? Is that okay? Better. Good.
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh yeah, echo.
Echo.
Yeah, the speakers are off.
Yeah, they are off. We might have to. It was fine before you changed it last. It's not on anyone's. I'll tell you what, shall we go to headphones each? Have you got some headphones?
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll go old school, but next to each other. Oh, echo's gone now. Let's see. That was a timely ad break. How's that now, guys? You guys can hear me okay? Yes, awesome.
How about me?
Cool.
Can you hear me? Perfect. I think we thought we were being clever by being in person together, but actually technology's defeated us on a technology event.
Yeah, this is the bit that AI isn't good at. Anyway, so good to have you guys with us. I've got the one and only Joe David. So him and I have known each other for probably coming up to 3 years now, since we both moved to Dubai around the same time. Joe, do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself? I think they're sick of hearing about me.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Eamon. Like you say, we both moved to Dubai at a very similar time. So yeah, we connected through that, but I think we've known of each other in the ecosystem for longer than that. You know, we've been in and around the accounting tech ecosystem for quite a long time, and we adopted Xero and Receipt Bank at the time, now Dex, over 12 years ago, and so we've always been a firm that's tried to be at the forefront of technology. So I think our paths crossed a lot of times, but the relationship blossomed in the desert.
Yeah, make of that story what you will. But in all seriousness, a few weeks ago, Joe and I just met up for a casual coffee as we usually do, and we both realized that we have been experimenting with Claude at around the same time. And Claude isn't some weird French kid somewhere or a guy. Like Claude is this AI tool, you might liken it to ChatGPT, but in reality, it's a lot more than that. And we're going to be demonstrating some of the capability in this session. We've got about 15 minutes, so we're kind of going to get into it. But the idea is that Claude is some kind of AI platform. It not only tells you what to do, but it can also do a lot of stuff for you. So Joe and I found a profound love for this thing. We thought it would be great to run a session together. So we're going to show you 3 different use cases today, at least, and maybe we'll squeeze in a 4th one very briefly if we've got time. I'm going to hand over to Joe to show you the first one, and then we'll get into it. So Joe, over to you, and I'll chime in whenever I deem necessary.
Cool, thanks, Heyman. So yes, just to frame the conversation here. So these are some kind of brief example ways that we can use Claude in our day-to-day business. And to be clear, I have no idea how to code. I'm not technological in that sense at all. You know, I understand technology and things like that, but I do not know how to code. And I want to make that clear at the start, because a lot of people will be sat there thinking, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to code. You know, most of these tools I've built within half an hour max. Sometimes they need a bit of tweaking, which takes a little bit longer, but actually the concept of what we've built here are completely accessible to everybody. Just before I go in there, I can see a couple of people saying frozen screen. It's fairly important they do see the screen, so just want to make sure. Maybe some thumbs up if people can see, just to make, okay, all good now. Okay, perfect. So let me share my screen. Hopefully this will work. You never know with these things. He says share. Okay, we're coming through, right? Okay, so hopefully you can all see a screen that you're familiar with, which is Zero. So we've created a kind of dummy company, one that's close to my heart, selling shrimps. Yeah, so this is our dummy company. I won't go into too much detail here on this bit. I want to rush straight into what we've built. So in the UAE, as I'm sure a lot of you will be very well aware of, VAT returns in Zero are not great. Obviously, we heard from Wafek earlier, who obviously have a much kind of better, more robust local product here. But for those of you, like us, that have a lot of clients still on Zero, the Zero VAT return just isn't really fit for purpose when we're talking about, being able to, I'm just going to minimize this, being able to submit to the FTA. So what we found is that we quite often have errors, whether that's most postings, errors with tax, but also the format that comes out of Zero, as you can see here, is not compatible with the FTA. So what I did in probably 15, 20 minutes was build a very, very basic VAT return checker, if you want to call it that. So I've deliberately put the wrong entity name in here because I want to show you just the basics of what happens. So this is a very simple tool that I built in Claude. It's called an artifact. I won't go into the details on that, but that's what it's called within Claude. But it basically downloads as a HTML file, so effectively a web browser accessible file, and you load it up into the screen. So this is the first screen you see. So what you need to do is the standard thing of exporting the sales tax report from Zero into Excel, and then here we have a choose file button, so we select choose file. I love doing live demos, by the way. I hope all this does work as we're sat here doing the live. There you go, perfect. Let me just, it might just be that it needed a sec to download. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you'll notice up here, originally it said Nefos, it now says Joe's Jumbo Shrimp. So it pulls the details, it pulls the TRN, it pulls the tax period in question that's come from the sales tax report that's been downloaded. And over here, this is just a basic thing where you can select the default emirate that you want to be in the summary section here. As we all know, you have to split per emirate in certain cases here. So you can select a default if that's different to Dubai. But again, the concept here is what it's done is it's pulled through all the data from the sales tax report. Now, in the background, I've mapped this, and I've mapped the sales tax and the purchase tax categories here to specific boxes on the VAT return. Now,
Obviously, you don't need to do this every time. Once you've done it, you can give it multiple different variables. It doesn't just have to be, one variable. You can give loads of different variables if your clients have different wording for their tax lines, and then it maps those boxes on here in the exact format that the FTA requires. So what you can then do is a couple of things. You can look at the transaction specifically, and again, you can download a detailed report, which is kind of very similar to what we already had. The difference here is it will show you, I'll do that quickly, it will show you the errors, which I'll come on to in a second. So as you can see, this is a standard kind of Excel sheet with all the transactions, but it will bring through any issues that are in there. So you could much easier filter into what errors there are on this return. Secondly, then what it does is it pulls through any errors and warnings, right? So errors are things that are fundamentally wrong, as in the rate is wrong, or the amount of VAT that you're, I'll show you in a sec, the amount of VAT that's on your invoice is completely incorrect compared to the standard rate of VAT. So if we look at this, this is an invoice on Xero, which is 5,500 AD, and you can see the VAT is one dirham. So this now has an error with that, because if we come to here, it will say that VAT should actually be this based on 5%, and actually it's 1. So that's a fundamental error. So that gives us a very easy way to find that error. The second one's a warning. So these are where there's VAT on this invoice. These are purchase invoices down here. This one's a sales invoice, just to be clear. And what it's doing here is it's saying these have VAT on them, but the actual code itself is non-VATable. So is that correct? Should there be VAT on that, or is the VAT code incorrect? Now, the longer term plan here would be that you could click on the reference or something, feed it straight through to Xero. It would pull up that specific invoice and you could amend it, or even you could amend it in here and push it through. But that's a little bit more of a limitation on Xero side. It's just the way that it would work is you would need to have a paid for developer account on Xero, which is a little bit more complex. So at the moment, what I did was made sure there was an easy, unique reference in here so that we can simply just take that. I copied it, by the way, paste it into Xero, immediately finds our invoice. We can immediately see, any issues that we have. We can amend those issues very quickly, and then obviously come back in and re-import and make sure all our errors are done. Now, once that's done and you've cleared up, I'm trying to go through this super quick. Once that's done and you've cleared all your errors, you can then go into each of these individual areas. So again, we can look at box 1 and we can look at all our sales, reverse charge, I don't think there is any, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just an easy way to flick through. And then we can download an FTA report. It needs a little bit of tweaking to be a bit neater in how it's presented, but it does bring it in the exact format that is needed for the FTA. So so that's the first thing I wanted to just run through. Any questions?
I'm going to jump in just briefly, Joe. Yeah. So what I would say is, like, what we're not trying to do is like sell Joe's VAT tool here. Like what this is about is showing you just how quickly Joe was able to build a solution to plug a gap that he's got in his business. Now, in this particular case, there are other solutions in the market that do this, like Generate Tax, etc. There are tools that are trying to plug these gaps. However, there's going to be other gaps in any software that you use, whether it's for standard kind of compliance processes, like you're doing your VAT returns, or almost any other thing, whether it's deferrals, whether it's post-date check. There's all sorts of other kind of localization gaps, let's say, that might be there, or business-specific gaps for you. And being able to quickly come up with something that can work is great. Caveat being, you can't kind of forego the testing that a normal software house would do, right? So make sure that you're very rigorous with any testing you do if you are going to go down this route. We do recommend that you use an expert ultimately before you put any of your customer data in. We've done this in a dummy environment, so just proceed with caution, but just be inspired by what might be possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not in any way saying that this makes Xero perfect or this makes Xero better than Wafek or anything like that. And, for me, Wafek is probably the best in this region in terms of delivering, compliant software in this region. The problem we have is we have over 500, maybe 600 clients on Xero. it's very difficult for us to move all of those over to Arfex. So we need some kind of solution to be able to have a workaround in the short term. So as Eamon said, it's not me saying I'm now making this thing perfect. It's more me saying, look, in our business case at the moment, this is a quick and easy way for us to build something that can help us, without having to migrate every single one of our clients to another piece of software, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I'm not trying to take away from anything else. Okay, so then quickly moving on to the second thing. So again, we're on our fictional kind of case study here, which is Joe's Jumbo Shrimp. So with this, this is a real life scenario, by the way. The numbers and obviously the situation is different, but this is a real life scenario. A client came to us and they had an entity in the UK, an entity in Cyprus, and a trust also. Can't remember exactly where that was now, but they had a trust as well. And they were looking to relocate themselves physically and their entities from the UK into another jurisdiction. Singapore was the one that they wanted to go through. And what happened was there was lots of information. There were structure charts, there was trust documents, there was the entity documents, there was the rules around what the trust could do and who it could distribute to. There was different settlers, beneficiaries, all these kind of things going on. And what that meant was that it was quite a bit of a nightmare for us to collate all of that and come up with a high level note. Now, again, coming back to what Eamon said, I'm not saying chuck all of that in Claude. You produce this report, you don't even read it, and you just send it to the client. Obviously, that's not the case. But what this does is it structures everything in a neat and tidy way. So again, I'm not going to go through this in any real detail, but you can see here that this is looking at an overview of the information. It's looking at some of these key facts. Eamon in this case is the settler. He's got a UK passport, etc. I'm the protector, etc. We've got this Cypriot trustee. And then it draws a basic structure chart for me. But this is all, I've done nothing, by the way. All that I've done at the moment is put in the documents that relate to the situation and given it a prompt to say, I need to give my client some advice on their structure and their business position and their relocation plans. Please help me put all of this together and build out a note. So I've done nothing to this at this point, right? UK tax risks, trust has made some loans. This is a high priority because there could be some issues around that. Transfer of assets abroad. A lot of these are UK focused because of the UK nexus of the client. We had a financial summary, so they've got some ISAs and some pensions, etc. It's looking at those planning notes as well. So what I'm trying to day counts for UK. Then it does a bit of analysis on Singapore. It gives a new potential structure. Gives them corporation tax overview. This is where they are in the UK. This is Cyprus. This is Singapore, for us to have a very clear picture. And then an action plan. These are the things that you need to do immediately. These are the things you should do within 3 months. This is what you need to do on departure, post departure. Some open questions, because some of the things, is Joe a director of Jumbo Shrimp? They don't know that, maybe from the data I've given. So they need to clarify that to make this data more accurate. Are the trust loans documented, etc.? And then obviously it's a bit of disclaimer at the end. So again, I don't want people to think, all we do is chuck our data into Claude and not actually do any work and we just send it out. This is just to give us a very good summary of where we're at, and then we will review that in detail. And the key thing here is, and Eamon's going to show something in a second, which also speeds up the kind of data entry part. The key thing, what we're doing here is, as accountants, the value is not in the bookkeeping. The value is not in the typing up of the information here. That stuff has to be correct. Otherwise, the rest of it won't work. But the value is in this piece. The value is in me and my team now being able to read this and analyze this in detail without having to skip between 15 different documents, be a bit unsure of this, be a bit unsure of that. So what we're trying to demonstrate here is some easy ways that you can add value to your business and therefore to your clients, not skip actual work or actual kind of advisory pieces. So yeah, I'll hand over to you.
And I think that's just like so cool. The fact that it's not doing your job for you, right? But it's taking away all like the laborious bit that leads up to the real value, and that's ultimately what it's all about. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to show you in my very limited capacity of actually doing any kind of accounting related work. One thing that I often had to do was review bills that have been drafted and waiting approval for me in Zero. And I don't enjoy doing it. I'm also probably not the best qualified person to do it. I don't know everything that the FTA would be looking for. So I thought, well, let's see what Claude can do. So here we are in Joe's Jumbo Shrimp once more. And I'm going to show you what another side of Claude, which is this Claude in Chrome. So I'm using the Chrome browser, and I'm not sure, can you guys see? You can't see the panel on the right. So I'm just going to share something different. 2 seconds. I'm going to share my whole window so you guys can see everything I'm looking at. Let's see this one. Okay, so you can see my whole window now. So there's this Claude in Chrome, which I pressed the button here and it showed up on the right-hand side. So what this does is it allows me to, so Claude can now see my screen essentially, and it allows me to give Claude some instructions about what I need to do. So what I want it to do is to go through each of these bills that are awaiting my approval and highlight anything that might be wrong from an FTA compliance perspective, and basically suggest what I need to do. So I've prepared a prompt that I'm going to plug into Claude here. So it's talking about the name. I'm giving it the name of the entity, RTRN number, because that's going to be important. I'm asking it to check that the supporting documents are compliant, that all calculations there, including VAT, are accurate, and that the transaction in Zero is an accurate reflection of the bill. Then I wanted to suggest what I should do for each one and why, and make it really easy for me to know what to do at a glance. So I'm going to get that going. And now what Claude is going to be doing here is it will be looking at my screen. Firstly, it's going to now try to synthesize what I've told it to do. And it should now play back to me. This is the plan. So it's come up with a 3-step plan. I'm not going to read it all out, but essentially it's summarizing what I've told it to do and just making sure that it understands. So I'm going to approve that, because now Claude is actually going to be in real time taking control of my Claude screen. And you're going to see it go into each of these bills, open them up, and take a look and do some analysis. Now, in the meantime, so you can see there, it's looking at the PDFs that have been attached against it. It does this random stuff. It will be taking screenshots. It's not changing anything. It's just looking at things, and it's following the instructions that I've given it. And at the end of this, it will give me an idea of like what its recommendations are. And now this has only got, I think, 4 bills here that I've asked it to look at. But in reality, this is going to be a lot more a lot of the time. So this is the kind of thing that you could, in theory, have running in the background while you're doing other bits of work, or your team can have running in the background. And then someone else can just check the work afterwards. It just saves you having to look at every single little detail. And instead, you can spend your time elsewhere. So this really creates the opportunity to do multitasking a lot better. And I found it to be incredibly helpful, in all honesty. Now, while we're going through this, Joe, I know, like, I showed you this, and you thought, oh, well, that's a pretty cool thing. I mean, this kind of task for your team, in reality, how much time would this take, and would this kind of things help save a lot of time for you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, the other thing on this Claude Chrome as a real life example that we use in the business is one of our team needed to transfer data from one system to another, but it was pretty much kind of screenshot exercise, right? There wasn't a great deal of work that needed to be done. She didn't need to use her brain, as it were, to do this job. She just needed to take data from one and put it in another. So you can connect 2 Chrome tabs here within this kind of tab group that it's created. And then what it will do is it will be able to say, okay, you need this data from here and you need to put it over here. It will take that data and transfer it over based on the prompt you've given it. That team member said that it would have taken her 3 days. She left it running in the background for a few hours and it was done. So there was 3 days worth of work that team member saved by using Claude in Chrome.
Yeah, for sure, man. And there are heaps and heaps of potential use cases for this thing. Whether you're looking to scrape a certain directory on a website somewhere, maybe you're doing some prospecting, you want to find some new potential clients, and there's a directory that doesn't have an API for you to connect to, or you can't download the list or whatever, which most of them tend to be. Maybe you'll get your Claude and Chrome to go through it for you and create a list for you, etc. So there's so many possibilities of what you can get this Claude and Chrome to do. And while it's kind of finishing up the task here, what I'll also say is that its counterpart is something called Claude Cowork, which has even more control than Claude and Chrome, because Cowork can actually sit on your desktop and it can do things on your desktop. And one of the first things when I first started experimenting with Cowork that I did was I got it to organize a folder of downloads that had thousands and thousands of files in it, many of which were just going to take forever for me to organize, and it was looking to delete them. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what the recommendations were. So we can see here that Claude has, at a glance, it's gone through each one. It's told us for the first one, do not approve. The one-line reason is the currency is wrong. It's a USD bill, but it's recorded as AED. It's an import, RCM, not 5% input VAT, and the account coding is wrong. This one here says it's to approve. This one here, hold, request a corrected invoice. So the supplier TRN is missing. It's not a valid FTA tax invoice. You can't recover input VAT. And this one here, the recipient name on the invoice is Joe's Tiny Shrimp, which is obviously wrong. It should be Joe's Jumbo Shrimp. So it's giving us a full summary of what we should do. Now, in reality, we haven't got time to go through what to do next, but you can say to it a few things. So what would make this even more useful would be, go ahead and approve the one that's okay. For the rest, email the suppliers using, or draft an email for me to fix the tax invoices. And it will then try and understand what I've told it to do, and it will come up with another plan. But we're not going to go into all of this for today. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you. There are a lot of potential use cases for this thing. Ultimately, we just wanted to give you a sneak peek of what's possible today. And I imagine in 6 months from now, in a year from now, someone will have done something way cooler than what we've done here today. And the possibilities will be even greater. I don't think we've got time for questions because we have overrun by quite a bit, and I've been prompted by Sabea to make a move on. But thank you very much, Joe. I'm sure people can give you a follow on LinkedIn and also I know you're on Instagram as well. So if you're interested to hear more from Joe, who's a highly tech savvy accountant here, he's also got a crypto accounting firm. So if you're not in that space, or if you are in that space and you'll talk about crypto, I'm sure you guys can have some really interesting conversations. But thank you, Joe. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Quick question. Would your invoices pass UAE e-invoicing requirements today? Because e-invoicing isn't just about sending a PDF anymore. It's about having structured data. It's about validation before sending. And it's about automatic reporting to the authorities as well. And most companies today, they don't have these. In the UAE, every business will need to submit their invoices through an accredited service provider. That means their invoices are validated, transmitted, and reported in real time. So this is where most finance teams get stuck. The current workflow wasn't built for this. So they start adding products, fixing workflows, and doing things manually. With Wafic, this is already built in, from invoice creation to validation to reporting. Your workflow is ready from day one. If you want to learn more about Wafic e-invoicing, then feel free to book in some time with me.
Okay, so I'm back with you guys. Now the next session, we're going to be talking to Aham. So Aham is the co-founder of Pimo, and we're going to be talking about how to control spend without adding complexity. So hopefully I've got Aham with me. Is joining.
Yes, hello. Hi,
Aham.
How are you?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Real pleasure to be here.
Really good to see you again. I'm going to take away the screen so that people can look at your beautiful face instead, because I think you're always looking smarter than me. So AM and I actually met. We've kind of been in the same circle, similar to Joe. We've been in the same circle for a couple of years here at least. But we only met recently for a coffee, and it was a great conversation. And one thing led to another, and here we are. We've got Aham representing PMO in front of us at Accounting Refigured. So great to have you here, Aham. I'd love to hear a bit about you so that the crowd understand where you're coming from and what PMO is all about, and then we'll get into the wider questions here.
Perfect. So yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Aham. I'm the co-founder and CEO of PMO. And PMO came actually to life while running a real business in the UAE since 2011. And back then, I found it very hard to structure my finance teams or to automate processes in my finance department. And saying I had a finance department sounds very big. Actually, we didn't have a finance department. We were working with external accountants, such as many people on this chat and this call here. And what we discovered is that the bookkeeping was not really the problem. The bigger challenge was collecting invoices, reconciliation, and so on and so forth. And businesses didn't really have the tools in order to automate these processes. 2017, the idea of PMO came around. I tried to issue corporate cards for businesses in the UAE back then. It was impossible, and I had to wait until 2021, 2022, where we went far ahead with the fintech infrastructure, where we're able to issue corporate cards for businesses in order to support their spending, to give them more control and visibility. Now, this is the first product that we are building. Our vision is to really be this system for finance teams and accountants to do any kind of payments and to facilitate any reconciliation and automate these processes. So we love working with accountants. We love working with partners such as Wafiq or Zero and any other kind of player, and we see ourselves as part of the bigger ecosystem.
Awesome. And yeah, and look, I know this space has kind of been heating up a fair bit in recent years, but absolutely, there's still kind of, it's still a relatively new category, this whole spend management thing, right? In the whole GCC, not just in the UAE. And for finance leaders watching who still equate it with just corporate cards plus a portal, and how do you actually define it, and what's like the proper scope of the problem that it's solving?
What I always say is that we are blessed in this region with a lot of friction points when it comes to banking, and not in a negative way. I think SMBs struggle getting proper financial services from a bank. It is usually not the fastest experience. And if it's fast, the user interface or how it behaves doesn't really help SMBs. On top of that, what banks offer today is the infrastructure, like they offer the cards, but they don't manage what we do, the workflow within the system. They don't allow approvals. They don't allow integration to accounting systems. They don't allow collecting the invoices. So we are basically, we use the banking infrastructure, but we are software on top that really tries to understand the business and helps them implement the workflows that really help them. And I believe, so this is how we differentiate ourselves from banks. And obviously, our vision was always to be supportive of SMBs. And that came as the main value for us, where we want to really help them and give them superpowers.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, SMEs make up, is it 98, 99% of most economies, right? It's such a crucial part of it. And, you know, well, they're also real people. They're not like these big corporations, right? You really feel the impact that you make when you're working with SMEs and you're helping them grow.
Yeah.
Now I know one thing is overspending tends to come up quite a bit, and you know, cash flow is the number one killer for most SMEs, and the UAE is no exception there. So, in your experience, kind of working with hundreds of finance teams, what are the most common ways businesses leak money without realizing it, and what's the practical kind of playbook a CFO or owner can put in place this quarter to protect against overspending?
So talking to our customers, there are different approaches how to look at it. And if we break it down, there are two kind of elements that influence the decision. First of all, who is the company accepting the payment? Is it a subscription? Is it a recurring vendor? Or is it a one-off payment? What we see if it's a subscription or recurring payment, such for example, Facebook or Google, it is very easy that Facebook can run more ads than you really wanted, or that Google gets more keywords out than your budget. So what we usually tell our customers is create a card specifically for a vendor and give it daily, weekly, or monthly limits, just to make sure that nobody takes more money than they should. That is one approach that we are looking at. Now, looking at that, there's also expenditures that are very important. For example, you don't want to miss a payment of your Google account, for example, because all your emails are linked to it. Or you don't want to miss your DWA payment or whatever important payment you have. So what we also see that customers create sub-wallets, and these sub-wallets, they put the budget on it and they are fenced. No other budget can really take from that budget. So this is saved, and businesses can make sure that they run in the future. So these are the two tactics that a lot of businesses happen. But if we look at the bigger picture, what we do is we empower employees to take decisions. However, there's also risk in giving employees empower them always, because this can be abused. So we are very attentive of that. What we usually see is that if you can trust your employees and give them the cards, because you have the real-time visibility on spend, and this is what you should do as an accountant or as a finance team, to look daily or weekly on the spend happening in real time in order to decide who has really earned the trust and who has taken advantage of it, and you can take action. However, if an employee gets a card and he knows that every spend is reflected in real time with the manager, the likelihood of someone not or overspending or not spending in the right place is very hard to happen. Still, we see certain employees that take the card and use it in places that they should not really spend the money. And it happens often. For example, we had one example where a customer gave 100 employees the cards, and most of the employees used the card in order to have a nice lunch or dinner. So we had to come up with a new product, and the new product is basically a pre-approved card. We give the cards to the employee, but they have to say, before they buy anything, they have to get an approval. I need 100 dirhams for fuel, for example. They get the 100 dirhams. It's restricted with a fuel station. They spend the 100 dirhams, and then the budget goes to zero again. So finance team really have the tools in order to ensure that no spending happens outside policies of a company.
Yeah, I mean, that already sounds infinitely better than how things used to be. I can imagine with the pace of change and the AI capabilities we've got these days, that this is only going to improve. Now switching the angle a little bit, there's going to be lots of accounting firm owners in the audience here. And how does a tool like Pemo change that relationship between an accountant and their client? I'm sure some will be thinking, this is a threat to my bookkeeping revenue. But is this actually more than that? And is this actually a bridge into advisory that firms have been talking about for a decade?
Yeah, I mean, implementing a tool like Pemo is quite easy. However, if you want to have the full power, you need some kind of management of how do you distribute cards, how do you manage different vendors with different cards, because your possibilities are endless. So someone who knows how to apply the right workflow might be a good business case. Another thing is we have a lot of automation. I think there is one question in the chat which says that we should implement similar checks on our invoices that we receive. And indeed, we use AI to check if an invoice has been tampered with AI to start with, because we have seen receipts being tampered with AI. We check for tax compliance, we check all these things. So we make the life of accountants that use Pemo easier. And it's more efficient for them, and they can really focus on making sure that everything is more compliant and is synchronized with the accounting system. Having said that, our system today offers card, but very soon we have other use cases where we can really add value to the accountants, and the accountants can offer this service to their customers and charge more. For example, being able to pay bills. Today, accountants to be able to pay bills or manage bills is not always easy because the access to banks and so on is quite hard. With our system, we can give accountants the access so that this service can become part of their service offering to their customer base.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I think I'm already starting to see firms embracing tools like Pemo. And in fact, based where I work, the other day I was talking to the FD and I said to him, hey, what are you guys using? They said, oh, we use Pemo. I was like, oh, great. I was like, we know those guys. So yeah, I think it's great to see that you guys are kind of making inroads in the market here. Now, with the e-invoicing coming around the corner, how does that interact, I guess, with tools like Pemo? You know, accounts payable is going to look very different to what it did before. Are you guys already thinking about where Pemo fits into that scenario?
Yes, we do. I mean, we had a similar experience in Saudi where there's already invoicing, slightly different than the UAE. And I mean, we're talking to our friends at with Rehan, we're talking to Nadeem as well from Wafiq. We want to understand more. And we believe that e-invoicing will support businesses in order to make sure there's no fraud and make sure that more processes are automated. For us, our main focus is really helping SMBs, and who does what in that bigger pie, we don't really matter. We want to collaborate. And in general, e-invoicing is a big topic. We get a lot of questions about it. It was great to be educated about it. And we want to be part of facilitating that process without offering it ourselves.
Yeah, awesome. I've got time probably for 1.5 more questions. Let's see how we get on. So if you had a CFO, if a CFO or a firm owner could only take one thing away from the conversation, what would you want it to be?
One of the things that in today's world, there's a trade-off to be made with CFOs and CEOs is velocity versus control. As a company, as a CEO mindset, you want to move fast. From a CFO perspective, you have to have controls in place in order to move fast. And I think in the age of AI, we cannot afford to be slow. We need to have the velocity, but we can also not afford to spend money left and right and lose the business. So I think Pemo can support taking these decisions, supporting in these decisions. But I think in general, the speed of execution with AI is going to increase. And I think what you're doing right now, showcasing how AI can affect, is a big help. So I think speed to market, speed to execution is going to be important. And tools that support that are going to be very helpful in the ecosystem.
Yeah, just very, very briefly, I guess you mentioned AI there. I mean, surely AI, I guess, is going to get even more and more embedded into your workflows. What do you see coming next? Is it AI agents handling AP end-to-end? Are we going to be talking about autonomous approvals? You know, what do you think the next 12 months looks like in that roadmap, without giving away all your trade secrets, obviously?
I mean, as a key fact, we implemented AI 1.5 years ago, and it was one of the best features that we had that had the wow effect on our platform. We always had a strong thesis towards AI, just because we feel it is a game changer, for the good or for the bad. We still, it's also scary to say the least. But what we believe is that the first stage of AI is going to be supporting humans. The second stage is going to be raising flags, and the third one is to have full autonomy. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to reach full autonomy, because there's also a change process in the minds of people. Do we really trust AI to take all the decisions or not? And I think that will take, not from a technology perspective, time, but it will take some mindset shifts that might have to happen in our brains in order to trust systems completely. But I think with the technologies we have today, we could achieve that even today.
Awesome. Hey, again, I think like this is obviously a topic we could go into a lot more. I know the guys will be seeing you and the team over at Accounting Refigured in September in person. So hopefully we'll have more opportunities to engage with the crowd. Thank you so much for joining me. Really enjoyed speaking with you once more. And we will definitely share the links over with the team if they want to find out more about Pimo.
Thank you very much, Ayman.
Where can people follow you? Where's the best place if they want to keep
on LinkedIn? AhamG. I just put it in the chat. LinkedIn as usual. I stopped Instagram a month ago, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I'm already wondering if I'm regretting my Instagram decision, but let's see. I need to give it a go. But yeah, thanks, Aham. Good to see you as always.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
What if bookkeeping took minutes, not hours? Let's get your weekends back. Meet Tofu. Tofu connects to your accounting software and learns how you do bookkeeping. No rules to write, no setup. We read what others reject. Bulk PDFs auto-split. Handwriting, any language, even pictures extracted line by line. Zoom to verify. One click to publish, attachment included. 5-star reviews on both Xero and QuickBooks. Trusted by firms across the world. Join more than 2,000 clients. Try Tofu now.
What if searching for a tax clause, or an explanation, or a direction didn't mean scrolling through dozens of PDFs? What if your search didn't stop at titles, but took you straight to the answers within a document? What if searching GCC tax laws was about what you need and not where to find it? What if everything you needed, laws, decisions, guides, was just available at a click of a button? What if every article, clause, and reference in the UAE corporate tax law were linked, so you never had to switch between PDFs again? For everyone who's ever said, there has to be a better way, GCCTaxLaws.com. The shift every GCC tax professional has been waiting for. Refer to and navigate the law with clarity. Turn your tax research into structured working knowledge with predictive search, amendment trails, curated repositories, and defensible position mapping. Our coverage spans all 6 GCC countries, including tax treaties and regional agreements. Everything you need is covered under one structured and thoughtfully designed tax research platform. Visit GCCTaxLaws.com and experience structured and efficient tax research. GCCTaxLaws.com, powered by Claritax Technologies.
Hello everyone, I'm Hanadi Khalifi, Regional Director of MIASA at ICAEW. As we look at the pace of change across the Middle East lately, I wanted to share where we are as a region, how our members are feeling, and what I think this moment means for the profession. When the conflict escalated, the immediate impact across the region was significant. Energy trade disruption, shipping through the Strait of Hormuz was severely affected, and tourism came to a near standstill. Since those early weeks, we have been seeing a gradual return to normality. Airspace has reopened and businesses are active. Critically, the UAE is not sitting still, with the government launching many initiatives to support businesses. That said, the situation is still evolving and tensions remain, so it is important we stay vigilant and continue to monitor developments closely. Demand visibility, logistics, mobility, and airspace disruption are the primary operational challenges. Investment is being delayed or rephased, not withdrawn from the region. Prior to the conflict, real GDP growth was running at 5.6% with non-oil growth at 6.1%, driven by financial services, trade, and manufacturing. That diversification strategy is now paying dividends precisely when it matters most. Our latest Economic Insight report points to some lingering pressures, but the foundations of this region remain solid. We are forecasting a rebound to 8.5% in 2027. CEOs expect a staged return to normal with material downside risk persisting into 2026, despite a modest improvement in sentiment. Of course, behind those broader numbers are real businesses and real people. Many of our members are navigating a more challenging environment than they were at the start of the year. Energy costs, supply chain pressures, and a more cautious planning environment are all part of the picture right now. But from what I am hearing across the region, there is a sense of cautious pragmatism. There's uncertainty out there and people feel it. But alongside it, there is a determination to support clients and organizations through this period. That does not surprise me. This is a profession that has navigated difficult moments before and knows how to respond when it matters most. So, what does this mean for us? A few things. When uncertainty rises and the business environment becomes more complex, the value of trusted financial advice rises with it. Geopolitical risk has moved to the center of financial planning, and professionals who can speak to exposure and contingency are proving essential. Compliance, audit, and risk work is growing. The demand is shifting, not disappearing. The conflict has reinforced just how strategically important this region is as a place to do business, and we expect that to translate into increased investment and opportunity as conditions normalize. For organizations with strong local relationships and technical rigor, this is not a period to retreat. It is a period to step forward. Clients need trusted advisors who understand the local context, can see through regulatory flexibility to underlying risk, and can match the UAE government's own confidence with professional substance. That is precisely what ICAEW exists to support you in doing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm looking forward to catching up with many of you at Accounting Refigured live event later this year.
Thank you for Hannadi for that message. We are indeed in strange times, but really exciting time with lots going on. So it's great to have such a resilient market and resilient people in the market that are going to really help drive us forward. Now, I'm going to welcome on stage a good friend of mine and someone that I first got introduced to I think we got to know each other through LinkedIn. So Reza, if you're going to join us on stage, and I'll briefly talk about how I got to know of you. So I remember when I started dabbling with LinkedIn a bit more the last couple of years, I came across Reza's content quite a bit on LinkedIn, and it always resonated with me quite a lot. It was really cool getting to see an accountant be able to put across the message and talk about how technology can change, but also Reza speaks a lot about marketing and running a business a bit more beyond that. So Reza, welcome. I also remember picking up a copy of your book, The Four Pillars, so that as someone that's not an accountant, that's not worked in an accounting firm, in case I think someone's asking me a tax-related question in the chat there. But yeah, The Four Pillars book. I wanted to get to know accounting firms and the ins and outs of them a bit more. And I picked up your book and I found it incredibly insightful. So it was a really good read. Welcome, Reza. We want to hear about your resilience story. So thanks for joining us. And I know we've got Valji & Co, which is your UK firm, but you've also got other businesses under your umbrella. Do you want to tell us a bit more about you and your story? And I think you might have your own slides, so I'll stop sharing mine.
Yeah, sure. No worries. No, thank you, Eamon, for having me. Good to be here. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it live, but this is second best alternative. So first of all, if you're watching, I want to get you, I want to wake you up and get you typing away on the chat box to make it a bit more interactive. I'd love to hear a bit more about you. So let me know in the chat box, whereabouts are you based in the world? I think most of you are based probably in Dubai and the GCC, but just put the city that you are based in here in the chat box right now so we can see who is here, and I can get a feel of if you're a sole practitioner, but Dubai sole practitioner, Dubai two-partner firm, Dubai working in industry, Dubai employed. So we've got representation, lots of representation from Dubai, from Cape Town, from Oasis from Cape Town, fantastic. Oasis have actually booked a holiday to Cape Town in August. First time to South Africa, looking forward to it. Mahmoud from Oman, good to see you, Mahmoud. Is this the Mahmoud that I know? Is this another Mahmoud? Eugenie from Dubai, good to see you. Danny from Dubai, amazing. Another representative from Dubai, Slough, center of the world, amazing. I think I know who that is. Chengi Garaba, good at Dubai, awesome, awesome. Johannesburg is here. Dubai, one partner firm owner. Stephen from Newcastle. Retail Lush, Abu Dhabi is here. Well, I'm actually based in Doha at the moment. I moved to Doha, Qatar last year after having spent all my life in the UK. I thought I need to change now. I managed to get my firm to run without me. So I still run a 7-figure accounting firm. We have office in UK, we have office in Dubai, and now I am actually based in Qatar. I spend most of my time actually helping other accountants. So I run a coaching and mentoring business, helping other accountants to build an accounting firm that gives them more time, money, and freedom. So I don't have long today, and I've been asked to share a resilience story with you. But I'd love to hear in the chat box right now, if there was one thing that you would love to hear from someone who's been in the game a long time. I started my accounting firm 2024. So what's that now? Not 2024, 2008. 2008. So 18 years ago now. What is the one thing that you would love to hear from someone who has been in the trenches that long, who's made all the mistakes under the sun, and now thankfully got to the point now where my firm actually operates without me and I can do the stuff that I enjoy and be on the other side of the world and still have it run and not fall apart? What one thing would you love me to talk about? What is your number one challenge, in other words? I'd love to hear, what is your number one challenge? Now, I have a big community of accountants, so I kind of have a feeling what that's going to be. But I'll hold that back until you tell me in the chat box. What is your number one challenge? Is it winning clients? Is it growing the firm? Is it pricing? Is it team? What is it? What is your number one challenge? Bashir is getting leads. Please share LinkedIn profile. Just go to LinkedIn, search Reza Huda. I'm the only one on the planet. You won't have any difficulty finding me. Just launched Fork Tech Finance Consulting. How do I get my first client? Absolutely. I thought it might be. Yeah, I'm starting to see a bit of a theme here. How to choose my clients. Not sure how to identify my ideal clients. Okay. Any more? Come on. Extracting myself from the day-to-day of the business from Eamon. Awesome stuff. Accounting firm owners. Sorry, Eamon. I'm going to favor the audience here. Accounting firm owners. What is your number one challenge? I'd love to hear. Winning clients, generating leads. Any more? Any more? Give me one more, and then I'll share my slides and see what I can do to help. Work-life balance, client acquisition. Yeah. So I could have told you that before you even put that in the chat box, because I've worked with, I've got about 1,900 firm owners in my Facebook group, and 80 or 90% of them, when they join the group, I ask them one question: what is your number one challenge? And 80, 90% will say winning clients, growing my firm, winning new business. It's always to do with winning business, with growing our firms. That is our number one challenge. Why? Because ultimately, if we have no customers, we have no business. So we can be the greatest accountant in the world. We can be the greatest tax advisor in the world. But if we don't know how to win business, we don't know how to win customers, we have no business. So essentially, we need to get good at the business skills required to grow a business. It's all well and good. We are trained accountants. We know how to do the accounting work, but getting better at accounting and tax isn't going to help us grow our business. We need to learn a new set of skills, the kind of skills they don't teach you in accounting school, right? The skills of marketing, the skill of sales. Marketing and sales are those superpowers in business. So let me share something with you that might help you, drawing upon my story, upon where I was and how things were for me before I ended up in this position where I'm able to talk to you because my firm is running without me thousands of miles away in the UK. So let me just share something with you. It's a story and we don't have much time, but let's see if that might help. I'm going to share, which one am I going to share? This screen or this screen? There we go. If you can see my screen, just give me a big fat yes in the chat box that you can see, because I have now lost the chat box. Where has it gone? Cool. If you can see my slides, just tell me that you can see my slides. Just say yes in the chat box so I can see that it's coming through loud and clear. Awesome stuff. So this is me at the moment. I go around and I can speak at accounting conferences like QuickBooks and what's this? I think this one was Accountex or something. This was in the US last year at GrowCon in Utah. Lovely place. I've been there already. I run a community of accountants. There's about over 100 accountants in my community. We have a live event. Fantastic. I love kind of doing what I do now and being able to share my experiences, all the mistakes that I've made, to help others not make those same mistakes and save time and money. I've also written a book, which Eamon talked about, The 4 Pillars, how to build an accounting firm that gives you more time, money, and freedom. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, you see how to order it if you would like. I'll give you a free copy, just pay shipping and handling. I'm in this position now where I'm very fortunate that I get to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. I have location freedom, time freedom. But it wasn't always that way. So let me tell you a little bit about my backstory. So this is where the resilience comes in, because I trained at PwC. And back in 2008, I got the itch to do something for myself. I don't want to wait 10 years to become partner. I thought I could do it better. And I thought, well, let me buy into a small firm. How hard can it be to run a practice? So I handed in my notice at PwC. To buy into a small firm. I didn't want to wait 10 years to get to partner, and thought, how hard can it be to run this small firm? After all, I trained at PwC. How wrong I was. Because I made every mistake on the sun. And that is because they don't teach you how to run a business when you do your accountancy training. No one teaches you how to win clients. No one teaches you how to price your services. No one teaches you how to lead and manage a team. So I ended up just winging it and not getting very far. I was working crazy hours thinking I've got to trade my time for money. I undercut to win work. Sound familiar? Because that's what I thought you had to do. I insisted on timesheets and micromanaged because that's what the big firms did. I trained at PwC after all, but I still wasn't making any money, only attracting poor quality clients and struggling to attract high performing people. We were constantly living out of our overdraft. It was tight making payroll and VAT payments. Meanwhile, at home, things were equally crazy. Our house was like a baby factory. We had 4 kids in the space of 5 years. Now, we'd always wanted a big family, and the business was supposed to be the vehicle that gave us control over our time so we could take off the school holidays, see the world, and have lots of fun. The reality, however, was far from it. My wife was raising the kids single-handedly, and it was exhausting. Even when I was home, I wasn't actually present. My mind was on work. I was living in continuous regret, watching my kids grow, but not creating any lasting memories. Something had to change. And one day, as I'm sitting in my office late one evening, plowing through the barrage of daily emails and trying to respond to everyone, I came across an invite to a webinar on practice growth, promising to solve all my problems. At this point, I was willing to try anything because things couldn't possibly get any worse. This is actually the webinar I attended back in 2014. You can see the date stamp there. So I registered and I attended, and I was glued for 90 minutes. What I learned that day planted the seed that led to the transformation of my results and ultimately my life. So off the back of that webinar, I joined a mentoring program and started to learn more. Right, this is me joining the mentoring program from my original mentor back in 2014. I was skeptical at first, but I started to implement some of what I was learning and started to get results, which gave me the confidence to experiment more. And then I got bigger and better results. And here's me sharing some of my wins with my mentor, £44,000 in total annual recurring fees. So within 24 months, I'd gone from struggling, frustrated, chasing clients to pay me invoices of £1,000 to £2,000 to winning a one-off project amounting to £135,000 and helping us get to nearly £1 million of revenue with just 7 people. And best of all, with me working less than 10 hours a week, so I could spend more time with those that I loved. Here's me sharing my win back in 2018 with my mentor back in the day. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I've been where you are. I know how hard it is, and that's why I've now made it my mission to help firm owners build more profitable, successful, and impactful accounting firms that gives them the time, money, and freedom that they deserve. So here is what I learned that day. What I learned that day was that there's an alternative to trading time for money. What I learned that day was that I didn't have all the answers. In fact, I had very few. What I learned that day is that I had to invest in myself to become a better business owner, to do the best for my clients, my team, and ultimately my family. So I went on this journey, and even in 2021, as I'm teaching accountants stuff that I'm learning, I launched a brand new firm as a marketing test, Capture Accounting. The promise of the course to accountants at the time was called power positioning. So this is now I'm getting onto some of the stuff that you can do, because I know your biggest challenge is how to win new clients. It was called power positioning, 0 to 100K in 12 months. So if we didn't get there ourselves, it would be serious egg on my face. This is an experiment I'm doing, by the way. Thankfully, we got to 100K in 9 months. Now, that's the story of Capture Accounting, born out of a marketing test launched in February 2021 as a brand new firm. We only had one client in the niche at the time of launch. Ultimately, what I'd realized over the years when it comes to winning clients is that you need to get your positioning right before you adopt the tactics. People usually go to the tactics first. What should I do to win clients? Should I go networking? Should I do SEO? Should I do paid ads? Should I do telemarketing? Should I do cold email shots? Should I do LinkedIn? These are all tactics. But you need your strategy right, which is essentially your positioning. Who are you trying to target? What specific group of people are you trying to target? Not every small business in the country and the city is your potential audience. Because when you try and do that, you'll be trying to appeal to everyone, you actually appeal to no one. And then your pricing is directly related to your positioning. The more highly positioned you are, the higher the price you'll be able to charge. Who gets paid more? The GP or the brain surgeon? The generalist or the specialist? The specialism and the positioning is what drives price. The more specialized you are, the more differentiated you are, the higher the price you'll be able to charge. I realized that to invest in myself to learn the skills of marketing and sales to grow my business. It's easy to get somebody in to do the accounting work. You get someone in that can do accounting work for, I'm trying to translate this into dirhams, but in pound terms, let's say £15 an hour, £20 an hour to do the accounting work and take that from you, so you can spend the time, your valuable time, in learning the skills and applying them in marketing and scales to grow your business. Now, I took all of these skills that I'd learned. I launched a second business, and over a few years managed to get that business to over £2 million in revenue. But all of this is not because I'm a good accountant at all. It's because I got good at two things: sales and marketing. And these are really superpowers in business, right? If you can take yourself away from the delivery work and get someone in to do that, and then you go and invest in those skills of marketing and sales, that's what's going to help you to grow your firm, because no one else is going to do it for you. Positioning yourself as the expert in one area, that is the strategy. Niching down your messaging, niching down your firm, and attracting a specific group of people. That is the big domino. You knock this down of how to win new clients, all your other problems fall away. So if you're struggling to win clients, not being able to charge as much, only attracting low value clients, working too hard for too little money, not making enough profit, relying on referrals to grow, not having the profits to invest in team members to actually come in and get you out of the day-to-day, it's because you haven't cracked this nut of how do I win clients on autopilot. And therefore you have to go back to basics and look at your positioning strategy first and foremost. Because if you knock this down, this big domino of how I can attract high quality clients to me on autopilot without relying on referrals, most of your other problems go away. When you get this right, you attract better quality clients paying higher fees. You know exactly what to do and where to go to find clients. You get better quality referrals because now you're getting the referrals from the kind of clients that you actually want. Become the go-to firm in your space, and you avoid this. This is what it looks like at the moment. This is why you're finding it hard to win clients, because you look like every other accountant and you fall into this sea of sameness. Most accountants are like this, and therefore it's no surprise that it's very difficult to attract those high quality, discerning clients to you. And therefore, when people join you, they're comparing you and joining you on price, because there's nothing else to differentiate you with. If there's nothing else that a client can differentiate you on, then the only thing that differentiates you is price, and that's never a good thing. That's a race to the bottom. Since positioning ourselves as the expert, we've attracted better quality clients paying higher fees for the same work. We're not doing any fancy business advisory work in our practice. We're doing the bog standard compliance for content creators and influencers. In the UK, we do their bookkeeping, we do their accounts, we do their tax return. In Dubai, we do exactly the same. We do their bookkeeping, we do their VAT returns, we do their accounts, and that's it. The work is the same, but we get paid a higher price. Why? Because we've specialized in that certain area. We understand their world. People want to work with specialists who understand their business better than a generalist. And since then, we're going to get much bigger fees, £12,000, £13,000, £23,000, essentially from the same type of clients. And here's why focusing your time on positioning should be a priority. Now, this is an export from QuickBooks. You can see here over the last sort of 8-9 years, our lifetime value of revenue is nearly £9 million. Now, the reason I show you this is because this concept of lifetime value is why accounting firms are sought after, which is why there's so much money in private equity going into accounting firms, because they have realized something that we haven't as accounting firm owners, the value of our business model. We have two things which are highly attractive to investors. One is a very low cost of acquisition, meaning that the cost to acquire a customer is very little. Most of us get new business through referrals, and therefore we don't have to spend much in marketing to acquire a customer. The second is lifetime value. Our lifetime values are huge. Look at these. These are clients who've been with us, let's say over the last, since we started using QuickBooks, maybe 10 years ago, £400,000 of lifetime value. Now imagine that one client has paid us £400,000 over that time frame. Another one, 300, another one, 260. This is the beauty of our business model, that when we get a client in, it's not just the £4,000 or £5,000 a year or the £25,000, £30,000 a year, a year of recurring fee. It's how much is that client going to pay you over their lifetime. That's the value of that customer. And that's why spending your time working on marketing to win customers is so much more valuable. Because if you think about it, if you, let's say you spend, at the moment you're spending 20 hours a week on churning out accounts, reviewing accounts, etc. The value of your time doing that is what? It's akin to another accountant that you could hire to do that. So let's say an accountant costs you, okay, in the UK, let's say £40,000, 200,000 dirhams, that you get a highly qualified accountant in UAE, probably a lot less than that because salaries for accountants in the UAE aren't as high. But let's say for 200,000 dirhams, you get somebody in who can take away all the accounting work from you, all the client relationship from you, and you can spend your time doing something which is much more valuable. Think about let's take a very small example, right? Your average fee is maybe 20,000 dirhams. A client comes in, conservatively, they're going to stay with you for at least 5 years, right? So that's 100,000 dirhams that they're going to pay you over, let's say, 5 years. That's conservative. It took you, let's say, 10 hours working on your marketing to win that 100,000 lifetime value of a client. What's your notional hourly rate? 100,000 divided by 10 is what? £10,000. So you put 10 hours of work in. Let's say it took you 100 hours to do that, right? 100 hours to do that to win £100,000, 100,000 dirham client. The notional hourly rate is what? 1,000 dirhams per hour. Actually, I should be using pounds. £1,000 an hour, right? Compared to the much lower hourly rate of you spending time on accounting. So I'm going to leave it there. I think my time is up, but hopefully the message has landed loud and clear. Invest in the skills of marketing and sales. That's where you should be spending your time, because ultimately that's what's going to help you to grow your business. And how you should be thinking about that is thinking about specializing into a certain sector, because that makes it easy for you to attract those high quality clients paying you the above average fees. Cool. Okay. I will hand over to you, Ayman. If there's any other questions, any other comments, I'd love to hear your feedback. Put it in the chat box right now. What has been your one takeaway from the last whistle stop tour that I've spent, I don't know how, 15 minutes or so that I had allocated? Let me know what your one big takeaway is in the chat box, and I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Reza. Insightful as always. Great to see you. And make sure you do check out Reza's Profitable Accountants community if you want to follow in the journey of the many hundreds that are already there today. Thanks, Reza. And read the book, 4 Pillars. You can find it on Amazon.
Cool. Thanks, Ayman. Take care.
Cheers.
Your team might be ready for e-invoicing, but is your client ready? They already rely on you to keep them updated, starting from 1st of July 2026, businesses with more than 50 million dirhams revenue should register with an accredited service provider. Then they need to go live by 1st of January 2027. That sounds close, and it is. The real work is not just switching on a tool. It's about making the right choice of an ASP, making sure your ERP, accounting, and invoicing systems are ready, cleaning up your data, then testing out the whole flow before you go live. Leave it too late, and the cost can build fast. Missing the implementation timeline can cost 5,000 dirhams penalty for each month of delay. Missing the invoice transmission rules can cost 100 dirhams per invoice. At Taxstar, we help you prepare for e-invoicing. Integrate with Xero, QuickBooks, Zoho, and almost all other ERPs. A demo from the link in the chat, and we will be happy to support you through your compliance journey.
Hi fellow accountants, Christian from Nakut here. Today I'll give you a short tour on the tool. In the top left corner can you see all the companies that you have access to, and this is also where you add new organizations to a company. In the settings page can you invite your team member and the customer on different roles. In our sales module can you do invoicing, quotes, and recurring invoices. The invoices comes in multi-currency, you can assign it to projects, to customizations. You can add payment links, company stamps, and much more. In the expenses, you can create these either by forwarding an email, sending it on WhatsApp, or simply dragging and dropping a document. When you drag and drop, can you click extract, and from here will we fetch the supplier, currency, invoice date, a description, and the amount. If it covers multiple periods, are you able to actually create it as a prepaid expense for a certain period? Our reports come with all the reporters that you would need. We have a fully functioning payroll system from where you can also do multi-currency payroll, and you can download the WVPS file so it can be submitted. We have an inventory module, and we do have a bank reconciliation where you can drag and drop your bank statements in CSV or PDF. You can search on transactions for bulk reconciliation, and you can assign it to both journal entry, purchase, invoices, and payslips. Today, more than 400 different accounting firms use us, mainly because we are easy to use and our competitive prices. Looking forward to talking to you.
Back, guys, it's me again. And yeah, we've had a load of presentations today, and I know we're running a little bit over, but we've got one more presentation to get through before we start wrapping up for the day, and it's an awesome one as well. So I want to invite my good friend Sam from Qudwa of the team, and we're going to be talking about CFO reality checks, so why reports aren't enough anymore. Sam, are you with us?
Yes, here I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Yeah,
good to see you again.
It's good.
Yeah, all good. Great to see you. So Sam, tell us a little bit about you. Again, I'm not going to introduce myself anymore. People are sick of that, but maybe some people already know you. But tell us a bit about you and a bit about Qudwa.
Sure. So my name is Sam Arif. I'm Lebanese, and I'm the co-founder of Qudwa. So Qudwa is an AI finance manager. So we come after accounting, right? Post-accounting, to give the intelligence layer that everyone needs for their financial data, but also operational data. So that's how I would define us. Yes.
Awesome. And tell us a bit about your journey. So what made you come up with Qudwa?
So basically, Carl and I, have been working with businesses for a very long time to help them with their financials, and we realized that anything that had to do with understanding your financials was all still done in an archaic way. Excel, we love Excel, I know we do, but it takes a bit too much time, right? and it's super manual, and then it becomes this black box that no one understands, and just this one Excel guru guy in the company can actually decipher, so we saw that problem, and we decided to tackle it. We knew it was a very tough problem, but this is what excited us to go for it, so that we can really automate it. And with the age of AI, it's just a perfect time to do so, right?
100%, man. Like, I mean, we've just seen so much innovation. We've tried to show glimpses of it during today's session, but frankly, we've barely scratched the surface. Now, when it comes to reporting's been around for a while. I'm old enough to have been involved in old school kind of enterprise projects where we had like Oracle, we had Crystal reports, Power BI. There's all sorts going on. Lots of these tools are still about. But what is it in reality? That what do banks, kind of boards, investors, and founders actually want from finance teams beyond the standard report that we've always seen?
So I'm going to say two words. I think it's clarity and confidence, right? In the end, data, finance is the end point for everyone in the business. It's the most important data about your business, right? It's how much money am I actually making, which is the end goal of every business there is, right? So it's not about the numbers. It's not about the report format. It's just giving me clarity and confidence about my numbers to take the most important decisions for my business. This is the North Star, right? When someone, a CEO, a department head, anyone is looking at financials, this is what they want to know. But not just know it with confidence, right? That they know that they can trust these numbers and then take the decisions for their business.
Really, yeah. I mean, that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, right? And in that reason, I guess we can deduce from that traditional reports are no longer enough for modern businesses. But are there any other reasons why that's the case?
So now we get more into the technological limitations that we have today that make these reports not enough, right? Usually they're mostly like looking to the past, right? Not enough future looking. They're very static, right? It's just like a number, but then if you need to actually understand what is behind that number and why, it's a whole thing of going back to other Excels and crunching numbers again in order to be able to get an answer after being able to validate it also. So it's a whole process, right, to get one little answer from a very static and plain report. Plain reports are not enough anymore. You give a plain report to someone, he skims through it, and then that's it. He's not going to do anything more than that. What people need is a dynamic and intelligent report, right? That can actually say something about the business. And yeah, that's I think what most people are aiming to get now in this new age of technology.
100%. I can fully empathize with that. I know that when I see just like a standard report, you're really, what you're trying to say is, well, so what? What is this really telling me? What decision can I now take, right? So what separates, I guess, a finance team or a founder that reports numbers from one that actually drives decisions? Because ultimately, surely that's the key thing here.
So I think it's two things here. The number one thing is it's like, I don't know, I used to be, for example, a financial modeler, right? And through financial modeling, I learned a lot of things. One thing that I learned, for example, is that it's not about how overcomplicated and abundant I'm making my financial model. It's about, on the contrary, how structured and simple I'm making it, and actually getting, in the end, to the clear answers that I need. So the first step is for that person to actually understand the business and be on top of it and know what needs to be reported and how. And this is why also technology can help you, right? AI can help you. So that's very important. The second factor is a technological factor. Is the fact that I am a modern, finance manager, accountant, or whatever it is, and that I can use all of these digital tools to get these answers very fast and in a very confident way, and not take weeks or days or whatever it is. I think these two factors are very important.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And where are finance teams like actually losing the most time right now between accounting and management decisions?
So yeah, that's a great question. So it always comes back to actually data, and manual work. This is where we're seeing clients and people struggling the most. Someone that is just capable of so much more, right? Ends up being extremely squeezed in time because of all the manual reconciliation. So it starts at data, right? I need to make sure that my data has been entered well. I don't have any duplications. I don't have any miscategorizations, etc., etc. Then it comes to the level of, okay, I need to consolidate multiple entities. So I need to struggle and juggle with all of these Excels. I finished that. Now I need to validate this, right? To make sure that I didn't do any mistakes. And that process in itself takes so much more time. And that's another set of Excels. Then comes the operational data, also on Excel. And then finally, you have, the reporting, either Power BI or PowerPoint or whatever it is. But like, it's all this manual work that consumes so much time and then doesn't allow you to do the last mile, which is the most important one, which is getting, as we just said before, getting these answers and getting this clarity. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but it's always manual work.
Yeah, I mean, we just can't get away from the manual stuff at the moment. It seems it's everywhere, right? And I think the temptation's always there, quite frankly. It's like, I could just do this myself. But in reality, what the kind of reactions I see once you plug in a tool like Qudwa into an accounting system, and people actually see how much this thing can really surface by itself, they're like, oh wow, like this actually would have taken me a lot of time to do myself. And that's where the real value is, actually seeing it with your data, right?
Yeah.
Now going into I've got one more question for you, Carl. Sorry, Sam, before we wrap up. So you mentioned AI.
Yeah.
And we can't get away from almost any conversation is always going to have AI in it now. How is AI going to change the future of CFO reporting and financial decision making ultimately?
So I think AI is extremely exciting, and definitely AI is even more empowered when your data is rightly set. So that's a very important factor. So I think, first of all, your data needs to be well structured, and that's the gold mine. This is something that we do, for example, automatically at Qudwa. And then once you have that layer is when AI is so much more empowered to do multiple layers of support to your business. So it first starts, we were talking about all the data quality, right? Miscategorization, duplication, whatever mistakes might have been done. This is the first level where AI can be extremely good at helping you automate this and identifying it like this, right? And also actively, without you having to go look for it. And we all know this process, right? Of like searching through that. That's the first level. I would say the second level then is instead of spending hours setting up reports, it's just the instant ability to use AI to have whatever report you need. So we have, for example, our AI CFO chatbot that you can converse with and just access everything and do whatever reports you want in a secure and confident way. That's extremely important. The confident way, it's going to give you everything at 100.00% accuracy. So we talked about data quality. Now it's data access, so reporting access that is instant. And then I would say right after that is the last layer, which is the intelligence layer, right? Which is, okay, I don't only want answers. I want smart answers. I want insights. I want intelligence. And this is where also it can add that intelligence part, where it can not only use, for example, Claude or LLMs, but specialized AI tools to give you other stuff that are like advanced forecasts, anomaly detection, or whatever it is, so that it's not just giving you what you need, it's elevating it to the next level. Last barrier, I would say, that it will help do really well is bridge the gap between finance and the rest of the business, because finance has its own language and its own way of saying and seeing things. And I think AI can be really helpful at bridging the language so that it can make finance understandable and digestible by anyone else in the company. So these are the 4 layers I would say that AI is really going to support it and change the game for everyone.
100%. I fully agree with all those points, actually. And what I'd also say is, everyone thinks these days, oh, ChatGPT is enough, it's giving me insights. But the reality is, these AI tools can just become like the new Excel, right? Insofar as it's incredibly flexible, very capable of doing lots of things. But ultimately, it's the context and the specific use cases that are going to really elevate it. And that's where something like Kudwa really does take things to the next level, because it's leveraging the AI, but it's applying it to specific context that a CFO is going to care about ultimately. Sam, always great to speak to you, man. And I know we would love to have a lot more time. Great seeing you. And what I'd love you to do is just to put yours and Carl's, so your co-founder Carl's LinkedIn in the chat for me, so that people can follow you and they can kind of find out a bit more about Kudwa. But yeah, great to see you as always, and we'll speak again soon, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Ayman, and see you soon. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Whether you're an accountant or part of a finance team, this is for you. My name is Ayham. I'm the co-founder of Pemo, where you can create cards, pay vendors, and track expenses in real time. We believe that the core of success is creating value. Therefore, we launched this partnership program where we create value for all the participants.
Hi, I'm Ali, leading partnerships at Pemo. As a partner, you unlock a VIP channel, not just for yourself, but for your clients, where you can earn and they get exclusive discounts and benefits not found in any other channel. The value is built in mutually. To become a partner, come to us directly. We'll walk you through step by step from start to finish. And you'll start generating value for yourself and clients from day one. So if your clients are still using separated tools and manual expenses, Pemo can be the solution and the operating system to get them to the next level. And you can be the advisor to bring them there. Let's build these relationships together. Become a partner now.
Thank you so much, guys. You have sat with us this morning for the best part of 2 or 3 hours, which is a long, long time to sit online on a computer. And honestly, that from the bottom of our hearts, we definitely appreciate you. Couple of things just to finish off with, and a couple of exciting things to show you. If I can share my screen quickly. So we've had an amazing morning of learning about a bunch of things happening in the region. But where do we go from here? Our ambition was never to go online. Our ambition was to bring the community together. So we're not stopping doing that. We will be back, not on Thursday, 16th of September, but Wednesday, the 16th of September, 2026. So many of you had bought tickets already for the event, which we're so grateful for. Be assured, your ticket has moved. It will be for the 16th of September. We'll hold your seat. You'll get a front row seat already. But we didn't want people to miss out. So what we're doing is exclusively until tomorrow at midnight in the UAE, we're giving you 15% off ticket prices. Tickets had gone to the normal pricing from the early bird space because we were kind of leading up to the event today, but we're giving you 15% off tickets until midnight tomorrow. This offer will not come back. This is a thank you for everyone for coming online today. It's a thank you for all the support that we've had from everyone across the world. We've got people flying in from around the world this year, which we're so grateful for. So scan this QR code, get your ticket before Friday, and we'd love to see you there in September. The agenda is going to be bigger, bolder. We've got some really amazing, exciting things planned that we were going to launch today in the event, but now it's given us some more time to really bring some activations to life. There is nothing like this in the whole of the GCC, so you're not going to want to miss it. But that's not all. If you came to the event last year, you would have seen Ayman stand up. I launched something that we call the counting room. as Emma mentioned at the beginning, that we knew that this market needed a community. We knew that you guys had to come together. We knew that we wanted you to have a space to share ideas, to learn about what's changing. As the region grew up, how the accounting profession grew up, and there wasn't a space for that. No one was doing it. So we took it on ourselves to go and do it. And we launched Accounting Room. We launched Accounting Room by an idea we had, a couple of conversations we had. But I'll be honest, we didn't spend enough time talking to the accountants in the community to really determine what they wanted and what they wanted to get out of it. So we had a load of coffee mornings, we had a few online events, we did a bunch of stuff, I'd say, but we don't think we really gave you guys the value you deserved. So in November last year, we decided to pause the Accounting Room, took a break, reassess, figure out what we wanted to do and how we wanted to make this better for you, the accounting community that we're here to serve and that we're here to help. So the WhatsApp group is still there. It's still existing. It's still going on. People are referring clients to each other. So that's free to join. Anybody can come and be a part of that. You can scan this QR code. It should take you straight into WhatsApp. You can request to be a part of the group. We're very strict. There's no vendors in there. There's no people like that. It's just accountants, CFOs, and finance professionals in this region. So if you're a vendor, please don't be offended if we kick you out of the group or we don't let you in to start with. But the Accounting Room is coming back. And it's bigger, bolder, and built with you in mind and with your conversation. So what are we doing? We're bringing a monthly fireside chat with an accounting leader from across the world. We've already locked in 3 people for the next 3 months. Stephen Paul, who is on the chat, a great person I've known for many, many years and a real pioneer of the cloud accounting and accounting community in the UK. We've got Nikolai, who is an absolute menace and a beast when it comes to building AI and into accounting firms. And we've got Luan from South Africa, who was one of the really early adopters from cloud accounting and Xero in South Africa when Xero launched that. We've already locked those 3 guys in. We're locking in more and more people. Every single month, we'll speak to one of the accounting leaders. You'll get to sit with them in a really personal fireside chat online. We'll record a session, get insights, connect with them, and learn from people around the world, not just the people in our region. We'll also be doing a monthly product deep dive. So this is where we'll go into a very specific product, whether it's a receipt capture, expense management, accounting software, whatever it is. I will give you an operator's view of it, not the salesperson's view, not a founder's view or somebody who owns the product, but we'll dive into it. Amen, Fahim, one of us from the team, will go through and we'll really show you the ins and outs of the products. And we'll also show you how to integrate that into your workflows. I think I lost my screen there for a moment. I don't know what happened there. So we'll show you each month how each product works, how to integrate it into your workflows and how it works within your practice and what you can do with it. Quarterly in-person member get-togethers. Being online is great, but we know how much we love a coffee morning in Dubai. So we'll run a quarterly in-person get-together where we can get together, talk about the issues you're having, whether that's staffing, training, practice management, whatever it might be. We're also running 3 hands-on workshops each year. We did one of these workshops last year in September, had 80 people attend the workshop. We had such great feedback around this. This is a practical session where we come together and actually tackle challenges that you're going through in your accounting firms, come up with solutions that you can go and implement in your firm the next day. We really think this is a massive, massive shift in what's happening in the UAE. We're bringing in people from GCC into this as well. And obviously, we'll have a bunch of member discounts and offers with the products and demos that we're doing and some of the sponsors that took part in today. We're going to open up registrations for this for the next couple of days. So if you go online, scan the QR code, go and sign up. Even if you go for the free membership, we need you to sign up because we want to make sure you're an accountant. But if you choose to go for the full membership, we will give you 50% off your first month. There is a code already embedded in there for you to go forward and get that.
I will add, also finance people are welcome, not just accountants, in case we've offended any CFOs out there.
Yeah, I know we've got the team from Lush joining, just FYI. my wife loves your products. So just going to throw that out there. But first and foremost, please come and join us on Wednesday, the 16th of September, live in Dubai. Really, 15% off our ticket pricing. We don't make money off this event. Very honest and factual as accountants. You should know that. This is not a money-making scheme for us. This is a true belief that this event, this industry, needs this in this region. And we're here to serve you and to help you. So I'll leave that on the screen. Eamon, any parting words for the guys as we leave today?
Just thanks for joining us, guys. We've been trying to build this thing for the last couple of years, and it's just awesome to see the numbers grow. So many people attended today. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in person again in September. I'm sure we'll break the records again year after year. But no, thank you all for your patience. We're going through a really exciting year ahead, and enjoy the rest of your days. And yeah, we'll see you soon, guys. Take care.